Randall pushed her down and assaulted her. Gerhardt says she was drunk and fell down.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please. Thank you. Judge, this is case number 101 on the calendar in the matter of Conant versus Randall. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, ma'am, have a seat.
According to the papers that I've read, Miss Conant, you and the defendant had been involved in a romantic relationship. I gather he wanted to break it off.
That is correct.
You wanted to talk. So you went to his place of business. According to your complaint, he assaulted you there. You suffered injury. He is cross-complaining that since this incident, you have harassed him, that you stole his telephone book and been calling friends, women friends, etc. Correct?
That's correct.
So how long had you been going out before this incident?
I met him in early '97. We had been dating until October 27th when the incident happened. It had been an up and down, very rocky relationship. For 1 week he loved me, the next week he wanted me out and would order me out, and I would leave, and then I would come back and he would want to. He would be very affectionate and loving. He's a very charming, he can be very charmed. I was swept off my feet. I fell in love with him completely. By the time the 10th month or so came along, I was tired of being kicked out so many times that I finally decided I wanted to get the truth. And I went over there. I did take a half bottle of...
When you say you went over there, you went over
to his place of business, which is also where he was living at the time.
Okay.
And,
had you called first to tell him you were coming over?
I don't remember if I did or not, Your Honor. I honestly don't remember. I usually do.
But according to your papers, you had fortified yourself with some alcohol.
No, not before I went there. I brought it with me. I brought half a bottle of Bloody Mary mix with 2 shots of vodka in, and I brought it over there to share with him. I came up, I drove into his parking lot. I came up to his door. He ordered me to sit back in my car. He said, I'll be with you when I can. He was probably emailing, which he does all the time.
Ms. Conant, let me stop you right there.
Sure.
You look like and sound like an intelligent woman. You're in a 10-month relationship with somebody. You come to his home, place of business to talk. He tells you to go wait in the car.
I know.
Shouldn't that have told you, let me get out of here? This guy is
It should have.
nowhere.
But
all right, so you went and you sat in the car. And while you were sitting in the car, you were drinking, according to your papers.
Very little. Very little. He made me wait for about a half an hour. And yes, I should have known. I should have known. But as the saying goes, love is blind. And with me, sometimes it's blind, deaf, and dumb. Anyway, I waited out there for half an hour. I took a few sips. I was not intoxicated. He asked me in. I came in. We talked for about 2 hours. He asked me, he said, I want you to leave. And I said, no, I'm not going to leave. I want to know where we stand. Do you love me? Do you want a life with me? Do you want me to get out of here? You know that I love you. I just want to know what's going on. So at that point, it was like his demeanor switched. It was like a light bulb went off. He stood up, very angry, came over to me, grabbed me by my arms up off the sofa, and said, you get out of here now, and shoved me towards the door. And I think I fell down at that point. Then following that was about 45 minutes of this whole thing. I remember grabbing onto him, grabbing onto doors, grabbing onto walls, anything, because I didn't want to go. I know it sounds dumb, but I was desperate. I wanted an answer from him. I wanted him to come forth and tell me the truth.
He was telling you. He told you to leave.
No, I wanted to know if he loved me, not whether he wanted me to leave or not. I already knew he wanted me to leave. But anyway, he managed to get me out finally, in the end, by grabbing me by the arm. And I have some photographs here, if I can hand them to the bailiff. So he shoved me out. The worst thing, well, I was covered with bruises, but he shoved me out of the front door. I fell onto the concrete and lacerated my chin. And I was covered with blood. And I was blood in my hair, blood on my body and my clothes. When he saw that, he ran out to me. He grabbed me and picked me up, helped me back in, and he was saying, oh, my God, oh, my God. And he sat me down. He ran to get a bucket and water and tried to wash me off. At that point, I knew something was wrong. So I ran into the bathroom, turned on the light, and screamed because I was covered with blood. I looked like I'd been shot or something. So I ran back into the room, and I called the 911, and I said, please come help me quickly. I've been beat up or shoved. He never struck me or hit me, but he kicked me and pulled me and pushed me and shoved me.
Are you telling me that he shoved you down and he kicked you?
Yes.
And even after he shoved you down on the floor and he kicked you and told you, get out, you still didn't leave?
No, I did not want to. I didn't want to. You can laugh. Everybody
I'm not
can
laughing.
laugh.
I'm saying to myself, an intelligent...
But my body doesn't matter. My body doesn't matter to me. It's my heart that matters. I could have loved my...
Susan, what happened was that evening, you'd lost it.
He lost it too, Your Honor.
Listen to me. Your behavior was not rational.
He could have called the police and asked them to come and get me, to take me away.
True, that's true. But your behavior wasn't rational. I'm not excusing if he did what you
His
say he
behavior
did.
was not rational either. I was very much in love. I was very much tired of being mistreated. I have his letter. I have the police.
Don't tell me letter.
No, I have a police report. This is the police report. I think this would be very important, in which he admits. It says, I am listed as the victim, and he is listed as the suspect. It says, summary of suspect statements. It says, suspect.
I can read. Okay, before I comment on this police report, because there are some interesting things in this police report, sir, I'd like to hear your version of the events.
Your Honor, I have a couple more documents here.
What?
They're very important. One is his signed statement, his restraining orders. We both went for restraining orders. He admits to pushing me, causing me to fall.
No, it doesn't say that here, madam.
It says here I pushed her, and she fell.
No.
Yes, it does. I underlined it in red.
Listen to me. It's not what it says. It says, whereupon I pushed her out the door, period. She then fell. You said I pushed her out the door, causing her to fall. That's not what it says, and that's not what it says in the police report.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She brought a half-drunk bottle of vodka mixed with Bloody Mary.
No, it was not half drunk. It
Listen
was
to
half
me.
empty.
Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying?
He's lying.
Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying?
He's lying.
You ready to have this case dismissed?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Susan Conant wants her former boyfriend, Gerhard Randall, to pay her medical expenses after he assaulted her at his home. Gerhard says she was drinking and that she fell after he put her out.
Ms. Conant, what else do you want to show me?
This is a letter that after we got restraining orders, we made up. We decided we still wanted to see each other. He left flowers on my doorstep. He asked me for forgiveness. He promised to pay for my damage.
Let me see.
This is a letter that I wrote because I still wanted to see him.
Not the letter you wrote to him.
Well, but that's going to be what he brings up as his defense.
Why don't you wait and let me see what his defense is?
Thank you.
Oh, now be quiet. Go.
Thank you, Your Honor. In the evening of October 27th, she did come over.
Had she called first?
No. I
Go
had
ahead.
no idea she was coming over. I had no premonition even that she would be coming over.
So
And
she didn't call first.
She
Just
did not call.
Let's keep it going. I have
Yeah.
other things to do today.
She came over. I did tell her that she should wait outside because I was busy. She brought a half-drunk bottle of vodka mixed with Bloody Mary.
No, it was not half drunk. It
Listen
was
to
half
me.
empty.
Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying?
He's lying.
Did you
though.
hear how quiet he was when you were
He's
testifying?
lying.
You ready to have this case dismissed?
No, Your Honor.
Good. Go ahead. She's not going to interrupt you again.
After 2 hours and 45 minutes of going around and around with this, I'd had it. I'd had enough. I said, you must leave. At that point, I did take her and shove her out the door and lock the door behind me. There is about 10 feet of a walkway, and then there is a parking barrier, one of these concrete parking barriers. She stumbled over that, and she fell, and I saw her laying in a fetal position, sobbing. I couldn't see her like that, so I went out to see what was wrong, and that's when I noticed she had been bleeding. When the police came and they saw where the blood was, it was a good 15 or 20 feet from the door.
Who is this person?
This gentleman here is Officer Pham of the Pasadena Police Department, who responded to the call that evening.
Okay. Step up, sir. Would you tell me what you observed when you arrived?
When I got there, the doors open. I walked in, and I saw the plaintiff inside. She was cut up, was bleeding. I proceeded to ask her what happened. At first, she told me that he had beat her up, kicked her, and this all happened in a back room where he's supposed to be living. I went back there to check for any blood, any sign of a struggle. There wasn't any. Later on.
Are you positive she told you that he had beat her up in the house?
Yes, that's correct.
But you checked for evidence of that, and you found nothing.
The way she was bleeding, there would have been sign of blood drop, stain, hands on the wall, as if there was a struggle, which there wasn't any.
So what did you do next, sir?
Then I went outside, and sure enough, there was blood stain on the walkway, just right outside the door and on a concrete area.
Which concrete area, sir?
Just right outside the door, ma'am.
Where was the farthest point of blood that you saw from the door?
I would guesstimate around 15 feet, ma'am.
Did you see a lot of blood there?
Just a drop here and there.
You interviewed the plaintiff, and initially, according to your report, she told you that the incident occurred inside. You subsequently ascertained that it occurred outside.
That's correct.
Initially, she told you that he beat her up.
That's correct, ma'am.
Did she ever change that story?
Yes, she did.
When?
After I interviewed I got his side of the story. Then I asked her, I present his side of the story to her. Then she recanted, and she told me, yeah, that did happen like that.
The report says when I asked Conant, that's the plaintiff, if she had had anything to drink, she denied having alcoholic beverages. Later, she admitted that she did have 2 drinks. Did you write that?
Yes, ma'am.
So at first, she denied having anything to drink.
Yes, ma'am. But it was obvious, the smell, her eyes blood and watery, just her appearance. I can just smell that from her person.
Is there any other witness to this incident?
My daughter is an after witness. I brought her here. If you would like to hear from her, that she's
Certainly.
prepared to.
Step up.
This is my daughter, Maria.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
You were home when your mother arrived home that evening?
Yeah, I was sleeping.
And what happened when she arrived home at about midnight?
Her knees were bleeding. It looked like somebody had beat her up. It didn't look like somebody had
Her knees were bleeding like she had fallen.
Yeah, but she had bruises all over her arms, though. You don't get bruises by falling, you know, like somebody grabbed her.
Is there anything else you want to tell me?
Just that I don't believe that she was drunk, because she didn't seem drunk to me. She just seemed really stressed out.
Did you smell alcohol on her breath?
No, I didn't.
You didn't. Sit down. Let me hear about the counterclaim.
Okay. She went to my desk and stole my little black telephone book.
How do you know that?
She admitted to it.
Admitted to whom?
To me. The way I found out is I got a phone call from ladies that I have never met, and I'd just been talking over the phone or emailing or whatever, and they said some strange woman had called them, asking them if I'd been intimate with them.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't see why everyone is laughing, because it was the only, when you are confronted with a man who will deceive and lie, the only way a woman can protect herself is by trying to act like a detective and find out the truth.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Susan Conant says she suffered cuts and bruises after her former boyfriend, Gerhard Randall, pushed her to the ground. He says she was drunk and she fell on her own.
So what did you do next, sir?
I confronted her. I said, I want my telephone book back. And she said, I don't have it anymore. I threw it away. And this went on for like a week or two. And
I gave it back to him the next day.
And people continued getting phone calls. My mother got a phone call from her, and she complained to my mother. Of course.
No. Am I allowed to say when he's telling something wrong?
Just a second. No, what you can tell me is why did you take his telephone book?
Because by that time I had discovered that he was emailing 42 women. He is addicted to email, and he has these email romances. And I said, Gerhard, you have to stop this if we're going to continue seeing each other. Then by the 2-month mark, which was around December, the end of the year, I went to see him, and he was very kissy-kissy, charming, sweet, and I said, oh, he's got something up his sleeve, I know it. So I went and I took the address book, I took it home, and the first thing I did was call a name of a woman that was in Wichita, Kansas. She admitted that he had called her on the phone and they had talked for 3 hours, and that he had sent her cookies, Christmas cookies, home-baked Christmas cookies. So I went back to him and I said, Gerhard, I'm through with you. This is it. I don't want to see you anymore. You're obviously very sick when you want to have romances with women on the email that you don't even know.
Why did you take his address book? Didn't you know that was stealing?
No, I returned it the next day.
Your Honor,
Your Honor, I don't see why everyone is laughing. Because it was the only, when you are confronted with a man who will deceive and lie, the only way a woman can protect herself is by trying to act like a detective and find out the truth.
Miss Conant, listen to me. Maybe that's true if you're married to somebody for 25 years. But if you're dating somebody for 8 months...
10
months. And you find out that he's, A, has mood swings, according to you, up and down. The first thing you do is you show him the door. If you feel in your heart that somebody who you've been dating for 10 months is cheating on you, even via the internet, you show him the door.
I thought I could change him. I thought I could help him. And he asked me to help him with this email.
Okay.
He asked me to help
I have some more evidence, Your
Go
Honor.
ahead.
I'd like to submit.
Go ahead.
This is a phone book that she returned to me. It's in her handwriting. She has taken all my entries, entered them in her own hand, and gave that back to me and said, here's your phone book.
Let me see.
This is what she gave back.
Let me see.
I never got back my original phone book, let alone get it back the next day. This came back weeks later.
No, it came back the next day.
Shh. Are you saying to me, sir, all these entries are in her handwriting?
Not all of them. I made a couple since, but you can recognize her
Well,
handwriting.
just point it out to me. I can't recognize it. I'm
Okay.
going to compare it to her complaint signature, but
All right.
I'd like you to point it out to me.
Well, he stole more than an address book from me. He stole my heart.
Just a second, Miss Conant. I'm going to ask you a question. Hey, listen,
Why are people
if there's
laughing in here?
If there's any,
I don't understand this.
if there's any more noise from our gallery, you're going to leave. Do you
I
understand?
suffered a very great deal from this.
Ah.
I don't see what's so funny about it.
Miss Conant, did you in fact alter in any way his address?
No, I didn't alter anything. I copied it word for word because his was falling apart.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
I'm going to address your complaint and I'm going to address your counterclaim. I am satisfied after hearing the evidence in this case that the incident that occurred inside of the house occurred as indicated by the defendant, that while he did in fact push you out of his home, and I believe that he did that push did not cause you to fall, that your initial fall was 15 feet away from the house, and that you fell because you were intoxicated. The only independent witness, the police officer, has indicated that when he responded to the scene, you gave him one version of the events, then you changed the story and you gave him a second version of the events consistent with the story that the defendant tells. The defendant could, in fact, after a 2 or 2.5 hour period, tell you to leave. When you refused to leave, you became, in effect, a trespasser. He had the right, therefore, to put you out of the house. He did not have the right to assault you, which I do not believe he did. I believe that you fell, and I believe that you fell because you had probably had a little too much to drink and were very upset. Your complaint is dismissed. As far as your cross-complaint is concerned, sir, you are suing for a relatively small amount of money. I would assume that you want a token to say, don't ever do this again. Small amount of money is not going to make any difference. I would assume, however, that you are smart enough to know that all ties, including any financial ones, should be totally broken, and that if you have any further difficulty with the plaintiff, that your response has to be an immediate call to the police. Do you understand?
Yes, I do, Your
That's
Honor.
all. Thank you.
Why does that excuse you?
I don't
Step
believe
out.
this.
Back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, the film producer says she was taken for a ride by the female impersonator.
When you met her, were you outfitted as a man or a woman?
I was outfitted as a man.
Judge Judy Justice.
I'm too naive, I guess. I have to be more careful in watching who I associate with because he's not what he appears to be.
Well, I think Judge Sheindlin saw through the charade and the act that the plaintiff was putting on.
Ronnie Gray, with his witness Cynthia Bernstein, is suing building owner Thomas Smitham with his witness, manager Kathy Lines. Ronnie wants to be paid for injuries suffered for falling from a collapsed balcony.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 109 on the calendar in the matter of Gray versus Smitham. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat. Kyle?
Mr. Gray, according to your complaint, you were visiting a friend.
Yes, I was.
And this is the friend you were visiting?
Yes, it is.
Who lived in an apartment complex owned by the defendant.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And you were standing out on the balcony collapsed, you were tossed to the ground and severely injured.
Yes.
He says it didn't happen. So, when do you say this occurred, sir?
1997?
January 19th,
Yeah.
1997. And what time of the day did this happen, sir?
About 10:30.
10:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And when had you come to visit your friend?
30 to 40 minutes prior.
How long have you known her?
A couple years.
What were you doing there that morning?
Discussing business about making some outfits for some groups I was managing.
So you got there between 9 and 10 in the morning. And tell me exactly what happened when you got there.
It was a really nice day, so we decided to go out on the balcony and get some fresh air. So we proceeded out to the balcony, and being out there, I was standing on the balcony next to the railing, and I heard some cracking noise. I didn't pay very much attention to it, and a few minutes after that, it happened.
What happened?
The balcony collapsed.
The whole balcony or just the railing?
The railing and about 2 feet of the outer portion.
It's leaving part of the balcony still intact.
Yeah. Yes.
But the railing portion and the concrete
And the
that was
stucco
beyond
and the
that
wood.
went over.
Exactly.
And you both fell off this balcony?
Yes, we did.
And where did you go immediately thereafter? What happened?
Well, I fell. I was dazed, and I looked around to make sure that she was okay, and she seemed to be okay, and some people came by and witnessed and asked were we okay, and I said, I feel okay at the moment, and we proceeded upstairs, and from that point, we made decisions to go to Daniel Freeman Memorial Hospital.
Okay, so you went upstairs.
Yes, afterwards.
So you walked up the stairs, the two of you.
Yes, we did.
And you went back to the apartment.
Yes.
And then you sat down and discussed going to the emergency room.
We had thought about calling for a ambulance at first, or to call friends, but we decided to take ourselves because we could still walk.
And how did you get there?
In a van.
Whose van?
Her van.
Who drove?
I did.
So you got to the emergency room. And were you both seen by doctors?
Yes, we were.
You have the emergency room report for me?
I have, the first thing I would like to present is the building and safety code information from Los Angeles.
First, I would like to see the emergency room report.
Here you go.
Good. Were you admitted to the hospital, sir?
For a few hours.
According to your complaint, you had an extensive period of treatment. Is that right?
Yes, afterwards.
And according to your complaint, as soon as this happened, you called a friend to go and take photographs of the collapsed balcony.
I didn't call a friend to do that. A friend met us at the hospital, and I made a decision to do that at that point.
Okay. Did anybody take photographs of you?
No.
Well, did you have any visible marks on you of being injured?
No.
So you fell down this whole story and you had no cuts, bruises, anything external?
No.
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 And what is your name?
Cynthia Bernstein.
Did Miss Bernstein have photographs taken, if you know?
Of herself?
Yes.
Not that I know, no.
And did she have any external signs of injury? Cuts, bruises,
No.
trauma?
None that
On the
I
outside.
could see.
None that you could see.
Right.
Okay. Now, Mr. Smitham, you own this property?
Yes.
First, could you pass up those photographs to me? Miss Bernstein was a tenant of yours?
Yes. Could I say something to this? I own the building, but my daughter runs the building and operates it and always has.
Okay.
And she has the information. I'm really not aware of.
Step up.
Good morning, Anna.
Good morning. What is your name?
Catherine Lyons, Lyons.
Now, Miss Lyons, Miss Bernstein was a tenant of yours?
Yes, she was.
How long had she been a tenant?
Approximately 8 months.
You were aware of the collapse, partial collapse of a balcony in her apartment?
Yes, Your Honor.
And when did that occur?
It happened on January 18th, not 19th, as the plaintiff stated.
I may have been wrong about the date.
Well, you certainly had the wrong date, sir, because according to you, the first thing that you said was this happened on 1/19/97, and your date of examination in the hospital was 1/18/97. So clearly, you were mistaken about the date,
Yes.
right? Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
This balcony, Your Honor, collapsed on the morning of January 18th. It fell approximately about 7 o'clock in the morning. My construction worker happened to be a tenant of mine who also lived on the premises, and he called me immediately when it happened.
Just a second. You can't tell me what he said to you, but what time did you receive a call about
7 a.m.
7 a.m. How are you certain of the time, Ms. Lyons?
I was getting my children ready for school.
Okay. And what did you do when after you got that call?
Dropped my children off and went straight over to the apartment building.
What time did you arrive at the apartment building?
I arrived approximately 9:15.
If you can't behave yourself, then you're going to leave. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did your attorney advise you that he was not following through with your claim because he suspected that this was a fraudulent claim?
No, he did not. They let the case go because Mrs. Davis had to leave town, and they needed both of us to discuss this matter further.
That's a lot of baloney.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ronnie Gray and his witness Cynthia Bernstein say they fell as a balcony collapsed at an apartment building owned by Thomas Smitham and managed by his daughter, Kathy Lyons.
What did you see when you arrived at the apartment building?
That the second-story balcony had collapsed onto the... It had collapsed. As I was there discussing the matter with the construction worker, I saw Miss Bernstein and this gentleman pull up in a van. They hadn't even been home prior to this happening. They pulled up, got out, went upstairs, and that was the last I saw of them. 2 or 3 months later, I get a letter from an attorney saying that they're suing us for just thousands and thousands of dollars of medical reports, and my husband, who happens to be an attorney, wrote a letter to them saying this is a fraudulent claim, we're not going to give it to our insurance agency, if you continue with this, we're going to report you, we're going to report it to the insurance commission. It was dropped immediately. And that was the last I heard of this until now. Now, not only, Your Honor, did this happen a year and a half ago, but their statute of limitations ran out in California. If they wanted to sue, they should have done this a long time ago.
Well, I don't necessarily feel bound necessarily by statute of limitations, but I am kind of interested. Step up here. I am kind of interested, madam, in why your attorney did not pursue this claim.
After the apartment was damaged like that, I went away. I went out of town, and only address they had to find me, because I had no place else to live after that, was at his place. So they had notified
Where did
him.
you go out of town?
Where?
Yes.
To Washington, D.C. That's where I'm originally from. I've been here for years, but I was born in Washington, D.C.
Uh-huh. But you had originally contacted an attorney, or had
Yes,
he
I did.
contacted an attorney, or did he contact the attorney?
We both did.
But the attorney dropped the claim.
That's because they couldn't find me. They kept.
Well, they could find him.
Right.
They could find you. The attorney
Exactly.
dropped the claim. So let's discuss why the attorney dropped this claim. Let's be very careful about this. Did your attorney advise you that he was not following through with your claim because he suspected that this was a fraudulent claim?
No, he did not. The only reason, if I may say, the only reason they let this case go, they felt we had a very, very good case. They let the case go because Mrs. Davis had to leave town, and they needed both of us to make certain dates to see them and to discuss this matter further.
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
that's a lot of baloney. You want to know why it's a lot of baloney? I've been a lawyer for 35 years. Because you have a claim that is at least as valuable as her claim, and any lawyer who took your case would be most anxious to complete it, because if you were an invited guest of someone who lived in an apartment, sir, and as an invited guest you were standing out on the balcony collapsed, which means that they would be per se liable for any injury that you sustained, which means that there is absolute liability on their part. So there's not even an issue as to liability, Mr. Gray. And if you say you had long-term injuries as a result of this, then there would be absolutely no reason why a lawyer would drop your claim just because they couldn't get in touch with her.
Okay.
Absolutely none. So let's go further, sir. I'm going to ask you for a couple of things. I would like all of your medical reports. Did the lawyer send you to a doctor?
Yes.
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 Okay, so you went to see a lawyer. Now, what day did you first go to see the lawyer?
I don't know the exact date off the top of my head.
How much
because I don't
after
wanna
the
make that-
incident?
I don't want to make that same mistake again.
How
on the
much
dates.
after the incident? A week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
A week or so.
A week or so?
Yeah.
In between going to the emergency room and going to the lawyer, what doctor did you see?
Myself, I went to a family chiropractic group first, and then afterwards, I ended up going to.
Can I see? Showing me?
And where's the other information here? Okay, I think you have the other one there.
So the things that you complained about to the doctor when you went to the doctor, sir, were things you said you felt stiff when you got out of bed in the morning?
My right wrist, my back, my pelvis was injured.
You told that to the doctor.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
And the x-rays that were taken were all negative.
There was nothing broken.
The x-rays were all negative.
Yes.
And you had no external lacerations.
Some swollenness.
I don't see anywhere where it talks about swelling in any of these reports.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You would have scratches or abrasions if you fell 15 feet into a bush. You would have scratches or abrasions if you fell 15 feet onto cement. You would have scratches or abrasions if you fell 15 feet probably onto a pillow.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Ronnie Gray wants his medical bills plus pain and suffering paid by building owner Thomas Smitham when a balcony collapsed. The manager, Kathy Lyon, says no one was on the balcony when it fell.
You want to show me something from your lawyer?
Okay, this is where they had me and Mrs. Davis as joint, parties in this case. So that's why they made the decision to let it go, because we could not make it together. They wanted to do this as a joint case. I don't understand, but, that's what they wanted to do.
When was the last time you spoke to this lawyer?
It's been several months,
What's several? 2 months, 3 months, 4 months?
3-4 months.
Is that when you were advised that she was dropping the case?
Actually, they sent me the information back first, and then I called.
What information did they send back?
They sent me the file.
The whole file?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have it?
I don't think
whole
I have the
file.
complete file, but I have.
I want the last letter that they sent you indicating that they were dropping your lawsuit.
Here it is. Here's the one she wanted to see why they dropped it. Here's another one. That's awful news. I got two of these.
Well, these letters were all sent to you,
I know that.
and they sent them to you directly.
They sent us both.
They sent it to you. They sent one letter to you directly. It is imperative that you contact this office. It's made out directly to you,
Right.
not to her. So why didn't you go?
They sent me the file.
No, no, no. The lawyer called you to come in. The lawyer notified you on 2 separate occasions, at least from here, 2 separate occasions to come into the lawyer's office.
By myself?
Oh, yes. This letter is directed to you. You're Ronnie Gray, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
So why didn't you go to the office?
I never missed any appointments with the lawyer. Okay?
Well, if you never missed any appointments with the lawyer, sir, then I can't understand it. But I do have a couple of questions from looking at this. Scott, chiropractor, says that you told him when you came in to see him for the first time that you fell on your wrist and your head when you fell 15 feet.
Okay.
So you want me to believe, sir, that you fell 15 feet on your wrist and your head, causing you all kinds of problems, but that you had absolutely no abrasions, because this doctor saw absolutely no abrasions on you, not a scratch. You fell 15 feet on your head and your wrist, and you had no...
There was a lot of shrubbery. If you look at the pictures, like a lot of ivory and weeds and whatnot, I can't explain to you why.
Certainly, if there's a lot of shrubbery, you would have scratches and abrasions. You would have scratches or abrasions if you fell 15 feet into a bush. You would have scratches or abrasions if you fell 15 feet onto cement. You would have scratches or abrasions if you fell 15 feet probably onto a pillow. None of these doctors who saw you immediately after the incident, sir, saw any visible signs that you had taken a fall.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
My last question to you is your lawyers told you they were dropping the case because you hadn't been in touch with them. Why didn't you go to another lawyer?
I didn't want to have another lawyer have to go through all this mess again.
So what'd you sue them for?
Huh?
So what'd you sue them for?
What did I sue them for?
Yeah.
Because of my losses and the doctor bills.
Well, then why didn't you go through a lawyer?
To another lawyer?
Yeah, why didn't you go to a lawyer? Your lawyer wrote to you, you had doctor bills, you had medical bills. I assume
there was another lawyer that I did contact, and he didn't want to get involved in it.
Let me ask you this question, sir. This doctor, this chiropractic group that your lawyer sent you to,
Right.
saw you a lot of times, right?
Right.
And had all these medical bills from the chiropractic group, right? A couple of $1,000s at least.
Exactly.
Right? Did you pay them?
Did I pay them?
Yeah.
I wasn't able to pay them.
So the answer is you didn't pay them.
No, I did not pay them.
This case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Well, I've seen this show on several occasions, and I felt that, she would be as feisty as she is.
Basically to scam for some money. They had been evicted and perhaps they wanted to recoup some of their losses.
Mathis says wedding planners 40-year-old Charles Robinson and 28-year-old John Leggett didn't provide enough food and champagne for her wedding day. She wants her money back. They say they offered a partial refund.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 86 on the calendar in the matter of Mathis versus Robinson Leggett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Just got married. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Don't look so dour. Are you happily married?
Yes.
Good. So they couldn't spoil that.
No, they couldn't.
No, ma'am.
Good. According to your complaint, you hired these two gentlemen to help prepare your wedding. And it was a
Yes.
big wedding. How many people were you expecting?
About 200.
And how many people did you pay for?
200.
How many people showed up?
About 150, maybe 170.
Okay. You say that these two wedding coordinators ruined your wedding.
Yes.
Tell me how.
They were hired to decorate the church, do all the bouquets, the girls' flowers, my bouquet, and they were to decorate the hall and prepare the food and have the food served. They did not have any programs for our wedding. The night at the rehearsal, when everyone had left, Mr. Leggett had pulled my mother-in-law aside and asked her for $50 more to do the programs.
How much had you agreed to pay them to do this wedding?
They got a total of $2,000.
$2,000 for 200 people?
Yes, ma'am.
What were they supposed to have served?
Well, we had a menu. It was chicken, there was ham, there was to be green beans, almondine, tossed salad, assorted rolls, fruit cups, which neither of those we had. We had just the meat portion. We had green beans, and then we had mixed vegetables. With green beans are already in mixed vegetables, so that was...
Who was supposed to do the food?
I did the food, Your Honor.
What happened with the food?
Well, Mr. Matthews' mother contacted me in December and asked me about coordinating the wedding. I agreed to do so. I later found out that the gentleman that she had contracted to do the wedding, to do the reception, had absconded with $2,300. And she was upset and concerned about that. I informed her not to be concerned, that I would do the reception for her as a favor for $800 for 250 guests. I did the reception for...
You have a contract?
No, this was a verbal agreement. Mrs. Dunnigan is the godmother to my niece, so as a favor to her, I did it strictly for the cost of the food. The menu consisted of roast beef, ham, fried chicken, baked chicken, shrimp Alfredo, muscatoli, string beans.
For $800 for 250 people?
Yes. Mrs. Dunnigan is a very generous person when it comes to my niece and my family, and I felt that that was the least I could do, considering that she had already been ripped off.
So did you give them everything that you said you were going to?
No, Your Honor. They did not have almonds in the string beans, and they did not have assorted rolls. And the reason that I had to cut back was because of cost. At the last minute, Mrs. Dunnigan informed me that no provisions had been made for the bride's bouquet, and she wanted me to do the bouquet. And because of that, I had to do I did the bride's bouquet, which did not meet with her satisfaction, but it was an all rose white bouquet. I also, in the process, the shrimp Alfredo, rather than getting the mini shrimp, I had to end up using jumbo shrimp. So I had to cut back in some areas. So I did not get the almonds, and the assorted rolls were 12 cents a piece. The regular egg rolls, dinner rolls, were 4 cents a piece, so I opted for the 4-cent rolls because of economics.
Did everybody get fed?
Your Honor, I served 283 people. I was prepared to serve 250 people. So as a result, we ran out of chicken. There were food that was left over that Mrs. Dunnigan took home with her.
Was it your mother who had made all the arrangements with him?
Yes, ma'am. Her and my wife. Yes, ma'am.
How much did you yourself pay him?
My mother-in-law paid.
Your mother-in-law paid?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, she's not suing him.
Your Honor.
Just a second.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
No problem.
Your arrangement was with...
Mrs. Dunnigan.
Right, and you had no out-of-pocket losses. Is that right?
My husband did. He and his mother paid. They paid together.
Show me, sir. Show me. You show me the check to him.
Well, his mother made it out.
Right. All right. Now, you, sir, were supposed to do what with regard to the wedding?
I was in charge of decorating and coordinating the actual wedding, coordinating the rehearsal, decorating the church, and decorating the reception hall.
Now, you say in your answer, you're Mr. Leggett?
Yes, Your Honor.
You say that you believe that these people are entitled to a $350 refund.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because there were certain things that you did not do.
Yes, Your Honor.
What did you not do?
The programs, they commented about programs. The night before the wedding rehearsal, Miss Dunnigan, the groom's mother, gave me $50 to have the programs done. I did not get the information for the programs, all of the information such as everybody's name, the correct spelling, and who was the soloist and who was this, to do that until that day before. Having to go home and finish last-minute things, I didn't have time to do that. I gave Miss Dunnigan that $50 back. We did not sign a contract for that. It was just her word against mine. She gave me the $50. I took it back to her house. Yes.
Okay.
They did not have programs.
Okay. You don't need a program to get married. Everybody knows what happens. You walk down the aisle, the minister says something nice, and that's it. So, next.
The other thing was a balloon backdrop at the reception. They wanted a balloon backdrop. This was in an American Legion Hall, which had the drop ceilings. When I got there to actually set up, it wasn't going to work. So we didn't have the balloon backdrop, which I explained, the reason for that. The other thing, on the day of the wedding, I arrived at the church to set up and decorate the church. I arrived there was no one there. I went back to the church at 10 a.m. Mind you, the wedding starts at 4. I have to decorate the church and the reception hall. I waited there from 10 o'clock until 12:30. No one was there. He finally opened the door at 12:30. I found out that he was there but asleep and did not hear me. So what I did is I opted to stay at the church with the arch, with the candelabras, the tulle, the ribbon, the flowers, and everything, and I sent my sister and my brother-in-law on to the reception hall to go ahead and decorate the reception hall so that we wouldn't be running late. 4 o'clock, the wedding was to start. I was ready to start. The decorations were done. We were waiting for the musician.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Nobody in their right mind contracts for the kinds of things, including a champagne toast for $800 for 200 people.
So why couldn't he show us receipts? I asked for $1,100 in receipts.
He doesn't have to show you anything. You didn't pay for anything. His mother paid for everything.
Yeah, I'm asking.
And she's not unhappy because she's not here.
And later today,
You had a verbal agreement with him that he would start to contribute to the support of the household when he got on his feet. Yes, Your Honor. And when he got on his feet, he used them to leave. Yes.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Mathis claims Charles Robinson and John Leggett ruined her wedding when they didn't provide enough food and champagne for her guests.
How much in total were you paid to do this wedding for 200 people?
I was paid $800.
Period.
Period.
And how much were you paid, sir?
I was paid a total of $1,100.
So you, sir, for $800, provided food for 200 people. You say 283. She says, how many people? 200?
150 to 170.
Even 170 people for $800, madam. He doesn't owe you a penny. He doesn't owe you a quarter. He doesn't owe your mother a quarter. And the things that you did, was the church decorated?
Halfway. We had no unity candle stand, whereas Mr. Leggett
What did you have?
He had an arch with some tulle. There was tulle on the pews with some bows, and there were two candelabras.
Okay, and what about the reception hall?
There was basically no decorations there. I have pictures that show there's no decorations on the table. There was no, like he said, no balloon drop. We were to have balloons on each table. I had scrolls I had bought that he had rolled for me. He was to have them on the table. The napkins with our names were to be on the table. There were no decorations on the table whatsoever.
Your Honor, may I interrupt? That's not true. The scrolls were given out. I had a satin basket that I made.
At the end of the evening.
I had a satin basket that I had covered to put the scrolls. I showed her that before the wedding. I said, this will be ideal for your scrolls. She gave me the scrolls. I rolled them, and I put the little rings on them. They were giving out after the wedding. It is customary to give them out at the reception after the wedding. You don't want to thank someone for coming to your wedding at the beginning. Her ushers and hostesses gave those scrolls out. The napkins with that had the embossed name on them and the little heart, they were on the cake table. We used those for decorations.
This gentleman says that he's prepared to give you back $350, meaning that the total that was spent for your wedding for approximately, let's take a mid-figure, 200 people is $1,450. And that includes some decoration for the church, food, your corsage, which he made.
But it's not right. It was not the one I chose.
Listen to me. Miss Mathis, you paid $1,450 and you served 200 people at a wedding. You had a wedding for $1,400. I don't see how you can complain about that.
He did not provide the champagne. We were to have, this picture shows we had punch. There was to be champagne for just the head table so we could toast.
Let me
there
tell you
was just
something.
Punch.
Let me tell you something. What he was doing for you was doing a gift for your mother. He was doing a gift for your mother because nobody in their right mind contracts for the kinds of things, including a champagne toast for $800 for 200 people.
So why couldn't he show us receipts? I asked for $1,100 in receipts.
He doesn't have to show you anything. You didn't pay for anything. His mother paid for everything.
Yeah, I'm asking.
And she's not unhappy because she's not here.
She is unhappy.
Then, if she was unhappy, she'd be suing him. She can't be unhappy. $800 to serve 200 people?
He got $900. There's receipts here.
$900 to serve?
He didn't do $900 worth of work. He had his niece serving, who he said he had people to help him serve. He had his sister, who was a guest at our wedding, pulled up to serve food, and his niece to serve food. He said he had people to help him. They'd be dressed in white shirts with black pants. When we met with them 2 weeks after the wedding to go through all this, neither of them felt we were required to get any money back, not even only Mr. Lake get $150. But they did not contact us after that to even go through anything for any of this.
You know something, Miss Mathis? I would suggest that you devote your energies to much more serious things. You had a wedding for $1,400 for 200 people. You ought to say thank you to him instead of suing him. This case is dismissed. That's all.
You are excused. You may step out.
It's hard for a judge or anyone to really see anything from outside. And basically, they know what went on from the inside.
I think one of the things that they need to realize is poor planning on their part does not create an emergency on mine.
And now the next case.
Party's on. Kirshner versus Cloud. Step forward, please.
School teacher Paula Kirshner is suing her former live-in lover, Dr. Thomas Cloud, for back rent and expenses.
Miss Kirshner.
Yes.
You and the defendant, according to your complaint, were involved romantically. He moved into your home.
Yes, he did.
How long did he live in your home?
3.5 years.
And according to your complaint, you had a verbal agreement with him that he would start to contribute to the support of the household when he got on his feet.
Yes, Your Honor.
And when he got on his feet, he used them to leave.
Yes. That's
right?
Exactly the scenario.
Anything else you want to tell me? I mean, that's
basically the story.
That's basically the story.
That's basically the story.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This man hasn't even been out of the United States. I have been all over the world.
You don't look like a lady who needs her social status elevated.
Thank you.
Especially by somebody who can't pay his own rent.
Thank you.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. School teacher Paula Kirshner is suing her former live-in lover, Dr. Thomas Cloud, for back rent and expenses.
You have, Mr. Cloud, some interesting defenses to this action. The last one I found particularly interesting, that you elevated the plaintiff's social status by introducing her to a more cultural experience.
Yes.
You want to run that past me just once?
Well, when I first met her, she was not actively social. She was mostly homely, and I carried her out to do...
She was mostly
homely.
Homely? No, but this lady was never homely. This is a very good-looking lady. You mean she was a homebody?
A homebody.
Oh, okay.
And I would by being a physician, I would, be invited to several of the medical societies meetings and conferences and balls, etc. And we would go to those kind of events.
You're a physician?
Yes.
Why does a physician need time at your age, sir, to get on his feet?
Well, I went back to medical school and started a fellowship, which paid very little. It was a resident program at USC, where they paid just a stipend.
Mm-hmm. That is not the truth.
What's not the truth?
Everything he said is a lie.
You mean about?
Number one, I have never been a homebody. He did not elevate my social status. I travel all over the world, Your Honor. This man hasn't even been out of the United States. I have been all over the world.
You don't look like a lady who needs her social status elevated.
Thank you,
especially by somebody who can't pay his own rent.
Thank you.
All right. So, but Mrs. Kirshner, you have a problem, a legal problem. See, according to your papers, you made an agreement with him.
Yes.
And your agreement with him was, you can come live here, get on your feet, and as soon as you get on your feet, I'm relying on you to contribute to the support of the household.
Yes.
And what we said at the beginning of this case was that when he got on his feet, he left.
Yes, Your Honor.
So the point in which you, even if it was a verbal contract, once he got on his feet, he left. So he was never able to fulfill his part of the contract. So you can't go back and say, well, now you owe me for the 3 years that we lived together, now that you have the money. Can't say that. It's not the way things work. What kind of business are you in?
I am a teacher. And when he came to live with me, he did not have a medical license. He was just released from federal prison.
What was he in prison for?
Medical fraud.
Had you been involved with the medical profession before, sir?
Yes.
He had no money. He went back to SC. The only reason he got into that program because it gave him a $1,500 stipend a month. And that was his income for a year.
Did you know all this when he came to live with you?
I knew very little of it. I knew some of it. A mutual friend of ours who is an attorney who was very instrumental in helping him get his release from federal prison introduced us. He introduced him. He was a totally different person then. He was very meek, he was very humble, and very appreciative and very manipulative.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
You look like a very stylish lady, madam.
Thank you very much.
And you don't look as if you need anybody to help you rise in the
I'm
social
the one that
ladder.
helped him get back into that.
But you made a
social
mistake.
I made a huge mistake.
So
I misjudged his character.
Put a
He
period,
changed.
put a period, and move on. But from a legal sense, that agreement to pay rent was not triggered until he got on his feet. And when he got on his feet, he didn't stay, he left. Correct?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Kirshner, you made a mistake. You're a smart, good-looking lady. Put a period, move on with your life. Understand? This case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The mooch lived with me for 3.5 years and did not pay rent. It's a difficult situation when you're dealing with someone who is a sociopath, who is such an enormous liar and can manipulate people and get away with such things.
I still care about her, but she abused me while I was dependent on her. I began to date another lady, and unfortunately that happens sometimes. And I think she's been vindictive because of that.
Social worker Tessa Charnofsky is suing former roommate Dale Arnott for not paying rent and verbally abusing her son. Dale is countersuing for wrongful eviction.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Judge, this is number 13 on the calendar, the matter of Charnofsky versus Aaron. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Charnofsky, you rented a room to the defendant in your home. Is that an apartment or a house?
Apartment.
And you live there with a child?
Half-time.
How old is your child?
4 years old.
Boy or a girl?
He's a boy.
And according to your complaint, the defendant owes you $300 in rent, and you're suing him for $5,000.
Right.
Order.
You have a counterclaim because you say she damaged some of your property when she illegally evicted you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you want her to pay you back for all the money that you did, in fact, pay her for rent.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so how much was he supposed to pay you each month?
$450 plus deposit.
And what happened that caused you to evict him?
Dale had agreed to many terms prior to entering the apartment, none of which he followed through upon. He agreed to pay half the rent, half the utilities, his share of the phone bill, to pay a deposit to treat my child with respect and to keep the house clean. And he did not comply with those requirements. And also, throughout his living in the apartment, he displayed behavior which was very scary to me. And after I asked him to leave, he began to threaten me. And
so you asked him to leave. How long had he lived there before you asked him to leave?
It was about a month and a half.
So how much rent was owing at that time?
He owes me for 21 days in the month of March, which is a total of $305.
Okay, and what happened when he was evicted in March?
Dale had agreed to leave within 60 days after my initial conversation with him to leave. When I asked him to sign a document stating that he would leave at that time, he flew into a rage and began to threaten me. Dale refused to leave at the time that he said he was going to leave. And then we made a new plan saying that he would leave on the 15th of March. On the 14th, I said, "Are you leaving tomorrow?" He said, "I'm not leaving tomorrow. Now leave me alone." And he scared me to death, Your Honor, and
So what did you do?
3 times during Dale's stay in the house, I called the police, scared for my life, scared for
No, Mrs. Janowski. So you took his things and you put him outside?
At that time, absolutely. I did. I felt afraid for my life.
Okay. And you came home and found all your stuff outside?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Arnott? How come you didn't pay March's rent if this happened on the 14th of March?
Your Honor, we had, when agreed for the 60 days notice, the first night that the police had come up, I had later found an arrangement in which I could probably move out on the 15th of March, 15 days later. I approached her, I said, if I can move out within 15 days to alleviate this stressful situation, I said, would you be willing to absorb the half a month's rent that I would normally pay in order for me to move out quickly and alleviate the situation?
Mm-hmm.
She said, absolutely not. She said that was unacceptable. So I said, fine, we will go back to our 60 days notice. I went back into my room.
Okay, but you were living there at that point, March 1st through the 14th, rent-free?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay. Now tell me why $5,000. I have $305. Where do you get $5,000 from?
So I said Dale did not pay any of his bills.
What bills? Phone bills? What else?
Phone, Department of Water and Power, gas company, cost of cleaning because he never cleaned.
Strike the cost of cleaning.
One day I found him drunk in the bathtub, naked, and there was vomit throughout.
That's a lie.
In the bathroom, it was covered with vomit, and he had broken a candle holder of mine that cost $50. So the total, if you would like to see it, Your Honor, is $575.
I still don't get to $5,000, madam.
When I asked Dale to leave, he would fly into rages, Your Honor, and he shouted at me numerous times with his finger in my face, "Things are going to get really nasty around here."
I mean, are you telling me? Shh.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but I find it very difficult listening to lies.
Well, you have to stand there, sir, until it's your turn.
Okay.
That's why I would break into tears.
Just listen to me. What you're telling me is you want $4,500 for your emotional stress. For your emotional stress, for your child's emotional stress. Is that what you're telling me?
Absolutely.
Wrong. Be ridiculous, madam. If everything worked out fine, then you would not have a problem. Then he would still be your tenant. Things weren't working out. You should have looked into his background a little more carefully, investigated a little more carefully if you have a child before you take a stranger into your house. You didn't. It didn't work out. Now, you violated the law by putting his things out on the street. And the police, I'm sure, told you that you had no legal right to do that. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So, you're going to have to absorb, because you did the wrong thing, certain things, including your emotional stress. Now, you certainly were living there March 1st to March, let's say March 15th. That's a half a month's rent, right?
Yes.
You owe her for that?
Yes.
Sure, you do. So you owe her $225 for half a month's rent. Now, you're suing her for, everybody's got these big numbers, a lot of zeros, $2,500.
That's an overestimation. I didn't have an exact measure at the time.
Let me hear, sir, what things of yours were destroyed.
Well, actually, I brought a couple of the items. A lot of them are irreplaceable, things that I can't estimate value. So,
like, give me an example.
I have a figurine from Walt Disney that's about 40 years old that was given to my grandmother, and it's broken in half. I have numerous CDs that were placed in a bag that had sand in them, and they were just placed in there by themselves without the case. They're just scratched, and I can't play them anymore. I have a lamp that was a gift, and it was flattened.
I'm the part-time manager of the building, Your Honor, and I watched as everything was brought downstairs, and as the manager, I can tell you, nothing was broken. Not one thing. As a matter of fact...
Just a second. Tell me, where were you when the things were brought downstairs?
Here are the stairs, here's me.
Okay. And were they brought down as individual things, or were they in a bag?
Some individual and some in a bag, and I looked through everything as they were bringing it down to make sure that nothing was broken, and she had asked me to do that, and I was happy to comply with that request.
So you looked through every single thing that was brought down, and you saw absolutely nothing broken?
Absolutely nothing broken.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He was threatening me with my child present. Whether it sounds funny or not,
stop being so dramatic, madam.
It scared me to death.
I think you're nuts to come to court to sue him. Nuts.
And later today...
she's cheated on me in the past.
I don't give a rat's behind about your social history with her, so that has absolutely nothing to do with money.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 29-year-old Tessa Charnofsky says 23-year-old former roommate Dale Arnott did not pay rent, broke her furnishings, and berated her son.
Well, let me ask you this question, sir. When the things were put outside, they were left outside overnight?
Yes.
Did you watch them all night?
My apartment building overlooks them, so yes.
Are you telling me you stayed up all night to watch these things? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm a writer, so I have different hours, so I sleep during the day sometimes. But my car is also parked back there, so I do keep an eye on the building. As the manager, it's my responsibility. And because his things were out there, and I did know Dale, I did take it upon myself to make sure that nobody came and stole things. So the answer to your question is yes.
So you're telling me that you watched these bags, whatever they were, plastic shopping bags,
Unless I have to
all
go
night.
tinkle, then I went to the bathroom.
Listen to me. The two of you have a problem. And your problem is that you don't know how to put a period to the end of this rather unfortunate tenancy. He owes you $225 in rent. Your emotional distress you're going to have to learn to live with. You, however, did the absolute wrong thing and put his things out of the house and left them outside, unattended, overnight. Absolutely the wrong thing.
May I make a statement, please?
Sure.
Your Honor, he told me that if I went through the eviction process, that he would stay for 60 days.
Which is his legal right.
I said 6 months.
Just listen to me, Ms. Charnofsky.
Fine, 6 months.
That's his legal right.
And Your Honor, and then he was threatening me with my child present. Whether it sounds funny or not,
stop being so dramatic, madam.
It scared me to death.
Well, what I'm telling you is if it scared you to death, you have to pay for it. You did something that was illegal. You cannot take his things and just put them out of the house. You can't do that. But clearly, he's out of your house now. He's out of your life now. I assume you're going to be smarter when you rent to somebody else. But you have to understand that you can't just say to somebody, you're going to leave when I tell you. Because once he moves into a place, he has certain rights as a tenant. And I can understand you being fearful for yourself. I can understand you being fearful for your child. But that once he's out, I think you're nuts to come to court to sue him. Nuts. Because if you were really afraid of him, Ms. Chernovsky, and if he was out of your house and out of your life, you would not have sued him. Because that doesn't make any sense if you were really afraid of him. So your lawsuit's dismissed, as is your counterclaim.
Thank you.
You're even.
I'm fine. That's
Please are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
At first, everything was fine, and then over a short period of time, she became not the person I originally had planned on her being.
This is a man who is evil, is a pathological liar, is destructive, does not follow through on any responsibilities, and he wins. It's absolutely outrageous.
I'm just going on with my life. I'm really over all this, and I never wanted to come in the first place.
And now the next case.
Body's on Jackson versus Hambrick. Step forward, please.
Dina Jackson, with her twin sister Dawn as a witness, is suing her ex-boyfriend Joey Hambrick for using her credit card. His witness is his twin brother, Danny.
Who's the plaintiff?
I am.
Who are you?
I'm her sister.
Sit down. Who are you?
I'm his brother. He's my witness. I'm Joey.
Sit down. Because I don't know if we need witnesses. Miss Jackson, this is your former boyfriend. You say he owes you $5,000.
Yes.
For a series of loans that you made to him, start at the beginning?
He charged on my credit card from July to September. And I
Of
gave him,
1997?
yes. And I gave him a cash loan in October.
And how much did he charge on your credit card?
$1,531.
And did you give him permission to charge that on your credit card?
Yes, he had promised to pay me for it.
Well, tell me about it.
Okay, we would go shopping, and he would ask me if he could use my credit card to buy an item, and I would say okay. And he, in the past, he'd always done it and paid me back.
Why didn't you use your own credit card?
I don't have a credit card.
Okay, so the drill was you would use her credit card, and in the past you paid her back.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes she, I mean, we had like, we had a relationship, I mean, I bought stuff for her, she bought stuff for me. I'd take her out to dinner, too. I mean, we'd go out to nice restaurants, I'd pay for that. I mean...
That's different. All right. Let me see the bills. Now, then you say there was a large loan that you made to him to have his car fixed.
Yes.
Let's get this. What's Silver Island?
It's a jewelry store where he bought, I think, a bracelet.
For $19?
Yeah, it's not a very nice bracelet.
Who did he buy the bracelet for?
Himself.
For $19?
Yeah.
IKEA, $529. What was that for?
I bought some furniture for my room.
That you still have?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, you have to pay for that. Why should she pay for your furniture?
Well, I mean, she took me shopping. I mean, it was just part of it. And she had credit. So it was like...
Just a second.
It was a mutual thing. Yes.
You see my mouth moving. Were you there?
Yes, I was there a couple times.
You were there?
On a couple occasions, I was.
My sister was there also on a few occasions.
Just a second. Step up here. You related to him?
Yes, I'm his twin brother.
Okay. Tell me the occasions when you were there when she bought him things on her credit card.
Well, we'd be, say, just on any occasion. We were all four of us together.
No. Specific.
Okay, for the jewelry, okay?
The $19 bracelet.
The $19 bracelet. She bought that for him. She saw, oh, yeah, this is cute. I like this. It'll look good on you. So she bought it.
So you were there in the jewelry store
Yes,
with
I
the
was.
two of them?
Yep.
Tell me about it. Where was it located, this jewelry store?
I can't recall. It was a while ago.
You can't recall. You can't recall where it was, but you recall the conversation.
Yep.
Sit down.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Where'd you get all this money from?
My father died a couple of years ago and left me money.
So you gave him almost everything that you got?
I wanted to help him at the time he needed the money. And I felt bad for him.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. 22-year-old student Dina Jackson is suing her ex-boyfriend, 19-year-old restaurant manager Joey Hambrick, for using her credit card and not paying her back.
Tell me about the car loan.
He had called me one day in the middle of October and said he had been planning on selling his car, which he was going to pay me for the credit card payments. Sorry. And he had called me and he had crashed his car pretty bad and he asked for a loan.
What did he say? Exactly.
He called and said he crashed his car. It was pretty bad. He needed to borrow the money, some money so he could fix it in order to sell it. And I said, okay.
How much did he borrow?
$3,800.
Did you borrow $3,800 from her?
She gave it to me.
No.
Let me see where you withdrew $3,800.
It was, I don't have a bank statement or anything from it. I gave him cash.
Well, you had to withdraw the cash from someplace, madam.
I took it out of the bank. I didn't.
Show me.
I don't have it with me. My sister was with me when I did it. I have a canceled check. He made one payment to me for the car loan for $50.
Let me see it.
It was in November. It's the only thing he ever paid me for anything.
What kind of car did you have?
Toyota Tercel.
What year?
95.
Where did you have it fixed?
I had it fixed at a place in Hemet. It was, I think, Tire Pros.
Just one second. Let me get this down. Clearly and unequivocally. You had the car fixed at what place?
Tire Pros in Hemet.
Tire Pros?
Yeah.
You're getting this information down because we can always
Sure.
do something like make a telephone call. You wouldn't mind that, sir, right?
No.
And how much did you pay to have the car repaired?
It was $3,800, somewhere around. It's $3,790 something.
And then did you
I had to
sell the
wait.
car?
No, I haven't sold it.
Well, was that your arrangement to sell the car so that you could pay her back what you owed her?
Well, partly, I mean, I was trying to sell the car just because I wanted to get a new car.
Well, what about this $3,800 that she lent to you? You seem to say there was no mention of repayment.
No, I called her and I said, you know, I had a car accident. I need money. I need help. And, you know, it was either, it was up to her whether to give it to him or not, you know? I mean, she's cheated on me in the past.
I don't give a rat's behind about your social history with her, so that has absolutely nothing to do with money. So you said, I need $3,800.
Yeah, I did.
Were you still dating at the time?
Yes.
Where did you expect her to get the money from?
She's had a lot of money. She had an inheritance a while back. She obviously had a lot more than I did.
What do you do for a living?
I work at McDonald's. I'm just a manager there.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I go to school and I help out at my dad's dental office, my stepdad's dental office.
Where'd you get all this money from?
My father died a couple of years ago, and we each got $5,000.
So you gave him almost everything that your father had left you? Huh?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
You took out of the bank almost everything that your father had left you?
I wanted to help him at the time he needed the money, and I felt bad for him. My sister was with me when I gave him the money, and he even said, you know, I really appreciate it. I'll pay you back as soon as I sell my car. He had told me that when I gave him the money.
These two bills together add up to more than the
Yeah, about $5,300.
maximum allowance that this court can award to you. But you owe this money. You're going to have to work at McDonald's double time, Mr. Hamburg. Double time. You owe the money. So you got to pay it. Judgment is with the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He was mad at me because I broke up with him, and he said unless I got back together with him, he wasn't giving me my money. He's jealous, he's possessive. I broke up with him. I started going out with decent guys, and he didn't like it.
Decent guys. Give
Yeah.
me a break. When your girlfriend takes you out and buys you stuff, I spent money on her as well as she spent money on me.
Just because he doesn't have like credit card payments and stubs to prove it doesn't mean he doesn't spend any money on her.
I don't want anything to do with him. I want you
told you the
to
same
stop
thing.
calling me.
I don't
want you
want
to leave me
anything
alone.
to do with you either.
We just
But then
changed
stop
her
calling
number
me.
because
I did
he
change
was
my number
harassing her.
because he was harassing me.
And he let the air into my tires.
Children 20-year-old Yvette Blancas to return his engagement ring.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 97 on the calendar in the matter of Franco versus Blancas. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You want your engagement ring back.
Yes.
How long have you been with this lady?
About 3 years.
And how many children do you have together?
2.
So the only thing you don't have is a marriage license.
Yes.
You had a family. Thought you'd be engaged
First.
have kids, and then get married. How sweet. How old are you?
24.
And how old are you?
20.
20. So how old were you when you had your first baby with him?
I was 18.
Mm-hmm. What I find interesting is that you met, you were both kids, you became pregnant, and then you got engaged.
Mm-hmm.
It's not usually the way it works.
No, it's not.
Then you had a baby. Then you broke up. He had already given you a ring.
Mm-hmm.
And you gave the ring back to him. Right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then you got back together again?
Yes, we did.
Tell me about that.
Well, when we broke up, we were still seeing each other. I got pregnant again, so we thought we would try to work it out.
Don't you know how to see to it that that doesn't happen?
We should have, but, I mean, I loved him a lot. And so we
Loving somebody doesn't mean that you have to have his baby.
No.
2 of them. What does your family have to say about all this?
They're upset. They don't like it. But they still love me.
Of course they still love you. So now you have 2 children. You know what my problem is, Mr. Franco? I usually believe that an engagement ring represents a promise that you're going to marry.
Mm-hmm.
And if for any reason you don't follow through with that contract to marry, then the ring should be returned. But you, Mr. Franco, you created a family, the 2 of you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand?
Yes.
My problem with you is I don't think you were very honest with me in your answer.
What answer?
The answer that you wrote to his complaint. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
Well, I'll tell you. He says that after you had, for the second time, decided to separate,
Mm-hmm.
he looked over one day and didn't find the ring in the box where you usually put it.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked you about it. And what did she tell you?
She took it to her mother for safekeeping, and then that she'd give it back, but her mom was busy and she wasn't going to jump for me, that when she got around to it, she'd bring it back. And then it was her mom's boyfriend had it in his safe, and his mother had a stroke, and he couldn't get to it. He went to go visit. He didn't, I confronted him about it, and he told me he didn't want to have anything to do with the situation. And it wasn't in the safe, so it was just lie after lie. And then when I asked her again, you know, want to tell me the story, she just said she didn't want to deal with the situation. That's why she told me what she told me.
He can say that, but that's not what happened.
Where's the ring?
I don't know. I thought he had it. I mean, we got in an argument. He told me it was over. We argued. We wrestled a little. I threw it at him. I thought he had it until he told me he didn't. Until I got served that he's taking me to court on something I don't have. And then after I told him that, he would still bug me about money. I mean, till this day, he asks me for money every day.
For what?
To help him. He threw me out of my own house with my 2 children, but he's asking me for money.
What do you mean he threw you out of your house with your 2 children?
When he decided he didn't want to, you know, he's dating someone else, he left me. He told me to leave. He said I could stay there till I got my income tax money, and then I would have to leave.
Whose house were you living in?
It's my house. I purchased the
It's
house
your
at the
house.
same time I gave her the ring.
So you purchased a house and you gave her the ring.
Yeah.
And the house is in your name. Is that right?
Yes.
And when you decided to separate, you told her that she could stay for a while, but then she would have to leave.
Yes. We have a contract that we work. We have the kids equal amount of time. And I didn't throw her and the kids out. Just I told her she needed to find a place. She was getting $4,500 back, and she's been with her mom ever since. And I mean, about the wrestling around and her throwing the ring, that's never happened. And here's the ring that she put in there that I assumed was the one that I got her until I took a closer look. And she got that in TJ from a panhandler or whatever.
How old are your children?
2 and 5 months.
Do you work, sir?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a phlebotomist, EMT.
And you work 5 days a week?
40 hours.
Who takes care of the children?
I do. I work 6 to 6. I get home, I sleep 2 hours. She drops them off at 9 in the morning. And then at 5:30, when I have to go back, I take him to the sitter, and then she picks him up when she gets out of work.
He won't help. I don't like the idea that they're there, that he only has 2 hours of sleep, but he doesn't want to help me with babysitter or anything with daycare. And I can't afford it by myself.
Well, that's all right. I mean, if he wants to be a full-time father when he has the children, I think that's terrific.
Not really, though, because when they're there, he falls asleep. Something can happen to them.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We had the child before we got married.
No, you had 2 children. The first time is a mistake. Second time is stupid.
And later today,
According to these papers, she had you arrested for domestic violence.
Correct.
And when she had you arrested, another warrant fell on you that had nothing to do with her.
Correct.
The old warrants weren't her fault, sir, were they?
No.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Franco wants his engagement ring back from the mother of his 2 children, Yvette Blancas.
Mr. Franco, I really don't know where this ring is, but I'm here to tell you that you created a family. And wherever the ring is, you don't get reimbursed for it. This is not an engagement. This is almost a broken marriage. Why you 2 young people decided to have 2 children together before you decided to make a commitment that you were going to spend your lives together is something that is always beyond my imagination. You want to tell me? Maybe you know.
Well, because I was ready. I was ready to start a family. Regardless of my age, I thought this was the person for me.
So why didn't you get married?
Why didn't we? That's what we were going to do.
No, no, no. Before you had children.
Oh, before we had children.
Yes. Before.
Didn't work out that way.
What do you mean it didn't work out that way?
We had the child before we got married.
No, you had 2 children before you planned to get
2
married.
children. But I'm talking about the first time.
The first time is a mistake. Second time is stupid.
Yeah, but that was my choice.
That was your choice?
Yes.
Good. Wherever the ring is, I hope it's happy. That's all.
Please excuse, you may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
I hope the ring's happy too. She's the mother of my children. I always have to deal with her, so there's nothing else I can do.
I can't give him something I don't have. I mean, I just hope we can deal calmly, because it hasn't happened like that.
And now the next case.
Bodies on Miramontes versus Sadier. Step forward, please.
19-year-old nanny Michelle Miramontes is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old mechanic Human Sadier, for loans and assault.
You were dating for about 1.5 years.
Correct.
And you took some money from her, correct?
I didn't take it, but...
What do you mean you didn't? Shh, shh, shh. You took some money from her.
No. I never took money from her. She bought me gifts while we were together.
I didn't say that they were a loan or gift, sir. I said you took money from her. Did you take $3,000 from her?
Yes, to pay for my transmission, but she gave the money for my car to get fixed.
Okay. Okay, so how did it come about that she gave you this $3,000?
My transmission in my car went out, so I had my car in a transmission shop where she was working at the time.
Slowly.
She was working at the shop at the time.
Yes.
So I took my car there to get diagnosed, to have fixed. They saw that the transmission had completely blown out, so they had to rebuild the transmission. They rebuilt it for me at the time.
No. You take your car in, and they say to you, your transmission blew out.
Correct.
We are diagnosing you with a dead transmission.
Correct.
And you said to the diagnostician what?
I asked them how much would it cost to repair the vehicle.
And the diagnostician said what?
They started with the estimate, which was at first, I believe, $455 to pull the transmission out.
The whole thing, please, don't give me
The total was $2178.29. I have a copy if you'd like to see it.
Okay, so they repaired it.
Correct.
And then it came time
ready,
to go and pick it up.
When it came time to go and pick it up, Michelle had asked me, do you have enough money to pay for it? I said, no, I don't. She said, okay, I'll get the money for you, and then we'll take care of it after.
I'll get the money for you, and we'll take care of it after.
Paying it off after.
Fine.
Okay.
So what did you say?
I said, okay, fine.
Good. So how much did she give
gave
you
me
at that time?
$3,000. I asked her for $3,000. She okayed to get me $3,000.
Okay. And we'll take care of it later.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, correct.
Did you take care of it?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Some matters came up between me and her as far as, it's a different story, but it came up, and we were splitting up at the time, and she wanted me to pay her back. I had to pay the other bills off because they were more important than paying her off and what I went through. So I canceled that, and I put that aside. And then she said, okay, if you're not going to pay me, I'll take you to court for it.
Well, here we go. So from the way we started out this case, sir, you said you didn't take any money from her. Not only did you take the money from her, but you acknowledged that it was a debt. You acknowledged that you told her you would pay her back, and then you just decided to blow it off and pay other bills, right?
Correct. I had to pay off a bail, if that's what you did.
Which bail?
My mother bailed me out, so I had to take care of that. So I paid my mother off. And that was because of her I had to go to jail for.
Well, according to these papers, she had you arrested for domestic violence.
Correct.
And when she had you arrested for domestic violence, another warrant fell on you that had been an outstanding warrant that had nothing to do with her.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So that's her fault.
No, well, domestic violence. She came to my house and she wouldn't leave.
No. But you were held because of the old warrants.
Yes. And
well, just a second. The old warrants weren't her fault, sir, were they?
No.
All right, so we got $3,000. Now, according to her papers, you paid her back $300.
Yes, I did.
So that brings it down to $2,700.
Mm-hmm.
You see, you don't even have to open your mouth. Look, you're winning, right? Isn't that great?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
After the $600, then you lent him $3,000. And then after the $3,000, you lent him another $600. You're not taking any serious medication, are you?
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. 19-year-old nanny, Michelle Miramontes, is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old mechanic, Human Sadie, for loans and assault.
Now, there was another piece of money that he borrowed from you. According to you, at 2 different times, you lent him $600
Correct.
each time. Tell me about it.
Well, before his transmission shot out, he had a warrant because he was driving with a suspended license. I get a phone call in the middle of the night, pick him up. His car's been impounded. We took the car out 6 days later, and I let him borrow $600.
Is that what it was to get the car out?
It was $220 for the towing. I gave him $600. He paid 2 tickets that he had. He had to clear his tickets first. He had to buy abstracts. He had to pay the DMV for giving him his license back.
So you gave him $600?
Yes.
Does that have a familiar ring to it?
Yes, it does.
Did you pay her back?
No.
Why not?
Like I said, I was paying my mother off $7,500 now.
And after the $600, then you lent him $3,000, right?
Right.
This. And then after the $3,000, you lent him another $600.
On September 20th,
No, is that the right? Then you lent him another $600.
Correct.
You're not taking any serious medication, are you?
Not right now.
Huh?
No. Not after what he put me through, I was.
What he put you through? Madam, how old are you?
19.
Where'd you get all this money from?
I worked 2 jobs. I borrowed the $3,000 from my uncle.
Who do you live with?
My mom.
What 2 jobs do you work?
I'm a nanny.
Yes.
And I work in an office doing administrating.
Don't you know a loser when you see it?
Now I can tell.
Well, you're only 19, so I really can't fault you that much because 19, you're still a baby.
Right.
But this should give you some clue. A man should never have to ask you for money.
Especially one that thinks he's wealthy.
Just a second.
I never
Should
asked you for
never
money.
have to ask you for money. And if he asks you once, and you're 18, 19 years old, how old are you?
23.
If you're 18, 19 years old and 23 has to ask you for money, right? And then he's got to ask you for money again. And then he's got to ask you for money again. Do you understand?
Yes.
And what was the last $600 you gave him?
Well, we were doing a couple things and going out, and we went to car shows, and he wanted to upgrade his rims.
Upgrade his rims?
He had 16s, and he wanted bigger rims. So I had them
bigger rims for this car with the blown transmission.
Well, the transmission was done.
Did she give you rim money?
She paid for them, yes, she did.
I have to ask you this question, sir. What did you buy her?
I never bought her anything.
Your Honor.
What?
I have a lot more. Well, there's more to this than this. There was a baby.
Doesn't this tell you, is this enough? A baby with him?
Yeah.
Do you have a child with him?
No.
Okay, so then I don't have to hear about the baby. You don't have any children?
No, I don't have any.
So why don't you keep that to yourself, madam? Right?
Well, no, I mean, I was going to have my child when I was 5 months. His family, his sister, and his mother are harassing me. I have to go through all this surgery. As of right now, I'm still having surgery. I go through a lot of pain and suffering because of them. This is my medical chart in 2 months. I have
Listen
60
to me.
pages.
That comes under the category of you being stupid. Do you understand? You have to take certain responsibilities for your own life. Do you understand that?
Yes, I understand that.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Even though you're only 19, you have to start taking a certain amount of responsibility for your own bad judgment.
So it was my bad judgment that he decided to hit me, and I had to take
No,
time.
hitting you was something completely different, madam.
I never laid a finger on her, man.
Hitting you is something completely different. If he hit you, and if you have medical bills as a result of his hitting you, I'm not interested in what you decided to do with your pregnancy as a result of the stress that his family put you through. I read that here. That's your problem. But if he assaulted you and you had medical bills as a result of his assaulting you, that I'll see. Do you have medical bills as a result of his assaulting you?
No, I decided not to go.
Fine. I'm awarding you $3,900, and I assume that the next time you pick a boyfriend, you'll pick somebody who isn't going to try to take you financially for every last penny that you have, and use a little better judgment with regard to the character of the people that you hang around with. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm just glad this case is over with and she's out of my life.
Well, I'm just happy it's completely over with, and I got my money back from someone who was as ignorant as he was. Well, there's a lot of people like him out there, so for all the young ladies, just to be careful. Some people think they're very wealthy and from wealthy families, and they're not.
As 47-year-old Ricky Smith assaulted him and snagged his fishing pole. Ricky says James was fishing on a private lake and he had been warned not to trespass.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 129 on the calendar in the matter of Cowherd versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Smith, you have a home on a lake.
Yes, I do.
Where is it located?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
How many homes are on the lake?
About 35 now. It's going to be 38.
Is it a full-time residence?
Right, right.
And you believe that this is a private lake?
I believe I got court statements filed by the court and by our builder.
That it's a private lake?
Definitely.
Mr. Cowherd, according to your complaint, you knew for a long time that this was a private lake, but then you found out that the lake was no longer a private lake.
Right.
And you like to go fishing.
I do.
So you took your boat and went fishing.
No, I was fishing from the bank.
How do you get down to the bank of this lake?
Well, the area that's belongs to the park department, you can walk through it and come around the bank and fish.
So there's a park property.
Right.
And when did you start fishing on this lake?
Probably in April.
And you never fished there before because it was private?
Right.
What made you think you were allowed to fish there now?
Well, I had a newsletter that come around in my neighborhood, Devon Neighborhood Association, and when they send the letter out to me, I read it, and so I went fishing. So.
Okay, can I see the letter, please? So you're fishing off the bank. Were you by yourself?
I had a friend of mine who was fishing with me.
And what happened, sir?
Okay, we'd been over there fishing 2 or 3 times, and every time we'd go fishing, the sheriff would come and run us away. So I explained to the sheriff that we had a right to fish there because the property had been deeded over to the park department by Mr. Davis, the man that built the home. But they wouldn't listen to what we had to say. They'd go on and make us leave and said, no, we couldn't fish there. So after that, we went back again. And so Mr. Smith here, he came over in his boat. We was fishing there, and I had my lines out in the water. Well, he came and cursed us all out and told us, get off from over there. If he ever catches over there again, he'd come through the woods, take a 2x4, knock us in the head, knock us in the water, all the things that he would do to us. And he went on for about a half an hour, 45 minutes long, there on the bank. Meantime, before he started doing all that, he took his boat and went around and around in the water and pulled our poles in the water. So we lost our poles, so we couldn't fish any longer.
You mean because his boat was going around and around and caught the lines?
Right.
The boat caught the lines.
Right. So I told him, I said, well, you don't pull the poles in the water. He said, damn them poles. You ain't got no business over here, and I don't want to catch you over here again. If I do, I'm going to hurt you. I will hurt you. Said, the rest of the homeowners, they've been calling the sheriff on you, but you evidently you haven't heard of me before. They call me Bad Ricky. Don't you know who I am? I ain't heard no Bad Ricky. Well, I'll tell you, I'm the baddest. I'm the baddest thing in Indianapolis. I said, well, so I don't know no Bad Ricky. So he went on and on. So then when he left with the boat, well, we left. So I called the sheriff after he done threatened to knock us in the head with a 2x4, that he'd call his partners in on us, that he'd get some dogs and run us out from over there. I wanted to report it because, you know, in case something happened, and they said, well, why did all this go on and you didn't report the thing to some of the authorities?
How old was the gentleman that you were fishing with?
He was about 47.
And how old are you, sir?
62.
How old are you?
45. I'm old enough to read.
Let me ask you this question. This whole lake, how long a lake is it, by the way?
33 acres.
So it's a pretty big lake.
Right, right.
There's no other house where he's fishing. He's not standing in somebody's backyard.
No, but he's standing right in front of a sign that said, he was standing right in front of the sign right there that said, no soliciting, private lake, no fishing, no swimming, no boating, and no skating.
Mr. Smith, listen to what I said to you.
Yes.
I had a question. Give me an answer. He's standing at an area where there is no house.
Right.
So he's not in somebody's backyard.
Right.
Okay. What's the big deal?
This is all private, man. Wait, man, Judge.
No. What I'm asking you is, what's the big deal?
Well, the big deal is, first, me and my wife, we have worked hard our life, saved to buy this fabulous home on the lake. Private drive, private residence. Nobody wants to be bothered with nobody. Okay, back on the backside, there's a walking trail, which was deeded to the like I said, to the Parks Department But just to walk, not to be, the fish, the lake, we have to pay to have the lake sprayed. And something happened to him, we got to pay for that because we insure all that land around there.
Just a minute. Let me read first what this newsletter says.
Excuse me, Judge. Can I say something, Judge? Anybody can go to Kinko's and make up something. Mail it out to people.
No, he didn't go to Kinko's to make this up, sir. May not be correct.
Yeah,
It's- Listen to me. It may not be correct,
Right,
but he didn't go and write this up himself. So let me read what it says. Okay. Did you ever see this, sir?
No.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to read you.
I know what it says, ma'am.
Well, I'm gonna say-
The evidence don't have nothing to do with Mallard Lake.
No, listen to me. Is the name of your lake Mallard Lake?
Yes, it is.
Okay. This says, and it deals with Mallard Lake, the original agreement permitting a private park for the homeowners in the development is no longer in effect. The property has been deeded to the city, and the public has every right to be there.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know, anybody know who's going to spend all this money to build a nice house on the lake? And you got to do with somebody like this come over, sit down there with a pole fishing.
Bert.
Bert, do what
He
you got
says
to do,
one
Bert.
more word. He goes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. James Cowherd says he was fishing in a public area when Ricky Smith assaulted him and snatched his fishing pole. Ricky claims it was a private lake and James shouldn't be there.
Now, let me ask you this question, Mr. Coward. You were told, and I'm not excusing what happened here, you were told by the sheriff to leave how many times?
About 3 times.
And despite the fact that you were told by the sheriff to leave 3 times, you continued to come back. That wasn't a smart thing to do.
Well, okay, when I came back, it was another letter that it came out. This was the second copy that came out. So that's when I went back again.
Let me see.
Kinko's again.
Mr. Smith, you're
I'm
being
sorry, Judge,
ridiculous,
but,
sir.
you know what I mean.
You're being ridiculous, sir.
But I got letters, stuff here.
I'm going to read your letter,
know.
sir. So this is from the Devon Neighborhood Association, which clearly again says that it had been agreed by all parties that bank fishing would be permitted from non-residential areas of the lake. Fishing from a boat would be prohibited. Even if this agreement had not been reached, bank fishing is permitted since the park site has been deeded to the city. So he had some reason to believe, based upon the newsletter from his neighborhood association, that he had every right to be in this area. Now I'm going to see your evidence, sir.
There you go. There's everything. File stamp copies from the court, stuff from the builder. We highlighted a lot of stuff for you, Judge.
Look, do you have anything after 1995, sir?
Well, see, those we do, ma'am. We do.
Just show me.
It's right
Wait a minute,
there.
can I come up as a witness?
Find it.
So,
Who are you?
I'm his wife, but then I'm the treasurer of the Mallard Lake Homeowners Association. The letter that you have right there from Davis is to his homeowners association in response to the newsletter. Our homeowner association has been going around and around with theirs, indicating that we do have a private lake. It is for use of residents only, and we don't want anybody else using that for liability reasons, et cetera, and privacy issues. And then that letter that you're looking at was sent to their homeowners association in response to those 2 newsletters saying the information that they printed is incorrect.
Well, this is but this isn't from an official. This is from a builder.
Ma'am, we build these homes on private lakes. Nobody gonna spend all this money to build on a private lake.
But they do make the
It is,
issue
ma'am.
that
If you look at the file stamp copies, it's showing you before we build our home.
the
All
Parks
those stamps was
Department
given
deeded.
to us on 1995. That's why it's 1995. File stamp by our court stating that the lake is private. There is a walking trail back here, but nobody else can use the lake. It's filed in there by our courts right there.
And if you look at the plans and covenants from 95, what it shows is the homeowners association owns, and they call them lake easements, the lake and the homeowners. And then they separately deeded that part in the back that's listed as park property. The park owns up to the lake easement. After the lake easement, then that becomes Mallard Lake.
What to me is sad is that you acknowledge that there is part of the property surrounding the lake that is public property, that is a park.
Just a strip
This
in the back.
is a strip of land.
Whatever it is, it's a strip of land.
Right,
Is
right.
it bigger than that desk?
Right, but it's not for fishing.
Just a second. Is it bigger than this desk?
Well, it's a strip of land going way around
It's a
now.
strip of land,
Right.
a walking trail that goes around.
Right.
And your position is that it does not extend to the shore of the lake.
It does not. It stays right in there.
Just a second. It doesn't extend to the lake. That's your position.
Yes, ma'am.
Quite frankly, I have no documents, current document in front of me, either from Mr. Davis or from this. Just because Mr. Davis writes a letter, is Mr. Davis a city councilman? Pay attention!
But Judge, does
pay attention!
Does it make a difference because he got a letter from King Coles?
Pay attention!
You gonna take his letter from some place that we live there, ma'am?
I want to tell you something. You got a hot temper.
No, I don't. Whatever.
No, let me tell you
Let's
something.
get
You
this
got a
over
hot temper, which suggests to me that his version of what happened with his fishing poles is exactly what happened. Because I was about to say to you, neither one of your documents is a legal document.
I don't have a hot temper, Judge.
Sir, because you don't know how to be quiet.
Well, that don't make no difference, Judge.
Because you don't know how to be quiet.
Can I ask you a question?
No, I don't answer questions, sir. I ask questions.
It's over, man. Forget it.
I ask questions.
Well, ma'am, nobody spends all this money to live on a lake and to be bothered with this, ma'am. I'm just trying to explain my case to you. You got stuff filed by our courts, by Indiana courts up there, ma'am. You're not even reading them.
For the development.
You're going to tell me. Forget it. Don't worry about it. It's over. Don't worry about it. That's all right. I mean, you know what I mean? Anybody know who's going to spend all this money to build a nice house on the lake? And you got people, somebody like this come over, sitting out there with a pole fishing. Okay, don't worry about it. I may be wrong.
Let me tell you why it doesn't make any difference.
Because you don't care, Joe. Here's your pictures here, too. Bert, do what you got to do, Bert.
One more word, he goes. One more word, he goes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I did not want to accept the money. I didn't want to complicate the relationship.
So you didn't want to accept the money.
Right.
And she overpowered you.
closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. James Cowherd says he was fishing in a public area when Ricky Smith assaulted him and snatched his fishing pole. Ricky claims it was a private lake and James shouldn't be there.
What Mr. Smith fails to understand is he may be right and he may be wrong. He has no right to disturb your property. His recourse, if you are trespassing on the property, is to call the local authorities and have you removed.
We did, ma'am.
Well, you did, and it didn't work, so you decided to do what you did yourself.
I did not, ma'am. I just happened to be pulling down the lake on my big, long, 20-foot boat, and then I didn't see no fishing poles in the water. How I got a 20 big old long boat? I'm sitting way in the back. I'm gonna see some poles in the water.
You have bills for the fishing poles?
I'm just sorry. I mean, that's ridiculous. I'm gonna see some poles in the water. I'm down a 20-foot boat. Did you see my sign? Y'all can look at my pictures?
I don't care about your pictures.
That's what I thought.
Bottom line is, you decided that since you weren't getting satisfaction from the sheriff's department, you were going to take care of it yourself.
I called the sheriff.
$227.70 for the plaintiff. That's all.
Whoopee. Parties are excused. You may step out.
Those are ours.
You know,
I'm the back door to your right.
People want to have a license on the, lake on the, you know what I mean? What do you do? Bums come and fish on your property. Y'all see that, don't you? I live on a lake, man. I got something. He's a bum. He's a bum. He shouldn't be over here. If you want to fish for food, let him go buy food. It's a private lake, sir. If you live on a private lake, you won't want anybody over there.
I just wanted to have a day in the court with Mr. Rick. Yeah, I'm going to fish there again, even if I have to call the sheriff and they happen to go with me.
And now the next case.
Parties on Foyadini versus Plummer. Step forward, please.
Nurse Karen Fogliandini says former boyfriend and aspiring opera singer Steve Plummer owes her for a $2,500 loan. Steve says it was not a loan. It was money in exchange for staying at his place.
You were dating each other for a while?
That's correct.
Correct. You lent him $2,500 to fix his car?
Correct.
He didn't pay you back?
Correct.
Okay. And Mr. Plummer, I read your answer, sir. And you acknowledge the fact that she gave you $2,500? Because I found this sort of curious. Said she offered me the money, and you said that we would work it out later. paying her back.
I didn't say that. She did.
She did.
Yeah, that's correct.
And you took the money under those conditions, that you would work out later paying her back, correct?
I didn't say that.
Whether you said it or not. She said, here's the money and we'll work out a payment plan later.
Well, we'll work something out later. It wasn't a payment plan, but it was to work out
Just a
something
second.
later.
What did you think she meant when she said, we'll work it out later?
Well, I don't know. You could...
Order.
Just a minute. What did you think she meant, sir?
I felt it was a gift.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Wrong.
No.
If somebody says, here's the money you asked me for and we'll work it out later, and you accept the money, she's made it clear to you that she expects that money back.
And he had mentioned on numerous occasions that he had every intention of paying it back.
But then he had second thoughts. In your answer, you say, in thinking back, I feel the money was given to me in lieu of having a place for her to come to in the marina. Why don't you tell me about that?
She bought a home in Oxnard at the time we met. I couldn't come to see her in Oxnard if I didn't have a vehicle that was running. When the fact came that I said, you know, my car is not running, it's not working, well, let me give you the money.
Let me lend you the money.
Just a second. Just a second.
No.
Let me give you the money.
That's correct.
Go ahead.
I did not want to accept the money. I didn't want to complicate the relationship. So I decided, I thought about it, and I turned her down at one time. I said, no, I don't want to accept the money. She insisted on taking...
So you're how old are you?
40.
So you didn't want to accept the money.
Right.
And she overpowered you.
Well, I don't look at it as overpowering.
Well,
there are many reasons why people
If you didn't want to
give...
accept the money because you didn't want to complicate the relationship, something must have happened, Mr. Plummer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Go ahead.
Okay. She needed a place to come back to in the marina in the Los Angeles area. She was on call in the medical business. She needed also to come back several days a week and be there in the morning. And I felt for her to drive all the way back. This came up later in the whole scenario. Rather than drive all the way back to Oxnard, she needed a place to come back. And she had mentioned to me on the phone even, well, look, maybe we can work out that $2,500. I'll give you such and such amount of money per month if I can stay in your place so I don't have to drive all the way back to Oxnard.
Does that conversation sound familiar to you?
It's been a little convoluted. The fact was, we did discuss this, but we were not together at that point. He did not have a place for me to stay because he was not living there by himself. So in the meantime, we did actually split up. We were no longer seeing each other after May. He continued to say that he would pay me back.
Now, just a second. When did you lend him the money?
February the 10th. I have the check here.
Okay. And when did you have this conversation with him about perhaps using his apartment when you were coming into town, into the marina area?
Once his apartment would have become available. He was expecting after May or so to have no roommate.
Okay, so it was possibly in the future that you said that you would be amenable to working off this $2,500 by using his apartments a couple of days a week.
Correct.
But that never came to pass.
That never came to pass.
Does that sound familiar to you?
Most of it.
Good.
You know,
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It was given to me as a gift, and I accepted it as a gift.
Why do you think I'd give you $2,500? Because I'm so rich?
Los Angeles police officer Brett Robinson is suing 61-year-old receptionist Beverly Manos for filing a false complaint after he wrote her a speeding ticket. She says he only stops women, and he was rude.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. Yeah, this is case number 119 on the calendar in the matter of Robinson versus Manos. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. Robinson, you are a police officer.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, in the course of your duties, you gave the defendant a speeding ticket.
Yes, ma'am.
A speeding ticket, eventually, upon which she was convicted, correct?
Yes.
Your complaint indicates that after you gave her the speeding ticket, she filed a complaint against you with Internal Affairs.
Yes, ma'am.
Something which you do not deny.
No.
That caused you a great deal of stress, ultimately could cause problems in your future career as a police officer, and you believe that she did so maliciously.
Yes, ma'am.
So since, Ms. Manos, you acknowledge the fact that you were convicted of speeding, so that he rightfully gave you the ticket, I'd like you to tell me why you filed a complaint against him.
Well, Your Honor, I had first observed,
Now look at me.
Oh, I had first thought, in days before and the days after, he'd only noticed that he only gave tickets to ladies. Like, and I've traveled the same route every day. I've been driving for 46 years. And I didn't feel at the time that I was guilty, because of the circumstances.
Because of what circumstances, Ms. Manos?
Well, I was driving.
Please look at me.
I was driving in the slow lane of traffic, and well, I feel there was no way I could have been going 50 miles an hour like he said I was, but that's beside the point.
Well, no, that is precisely the point. You were, in fact, convicted of speeding.
Right.
So my question to you is, why did you file a complaint against him?
Well, when he stopped me, he was very rude and abrupt and, talked down at me very demeaningly, and I was nervous.
Give me an
and upset.
example. All right, let's start from the beginning, Ms. Manos. First of all, let's understand that when you're pulled over for speeding, your adrenaline is pumping. According to your answer, you've been driving for a long time and never received a speeding ticket before.
No.
So I assume that you were a little nervous?
Nervous, right.
No. So he pulled you over, and what was the first thing he said to you?
He said, you were speeding. And I said, I don't believe so. I was nervous and very upset, and he said, can I see your driver's license? And I got my driver's license and everything. And he just was very abrupt.
No. Stopped your car and said you were speeding.
Mm-hmm.
You said, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I need your driver's license.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you gave him your driver's license?
Yes.
Next thing that he said to you?
He asked me for my proof of insurance.
And you gave it to him?
Yes. And he said, he all the time he was like, he didn't, I don't know, he was just, he didn't, give me a chance to any explanation or anything, or even just, I said, well, how seems to be doing 50 and 35 miles on his own. He said, I got it on radar. Well, I said, I don't think so.
Just a second. So you said, I don't think I was speeding, and he said, I have it on radar.
Mm-hmm.
That you were doing 50 in a 35-mile
Mm-hmm.
zone? You said, I don't think so.
Right.
And what did he say to you?
He just said, well, he said, that's what the, the radar thing says. Well, I said, I couldn't have been going that fast, officer, because I was in the slow lane of traffic, and I was going to be turning on Wilbur at the next block.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, that's what the radar said.
Okay. And what was the next? And then he gave you the ticket.
He went behind my car and wrote out the ticket.
And handed it to you.
Mm-hmm. Had me sign it.
And then what happened?
He just, drove, just drove away.
So, what's your complaint?
Well, the fact that when he, when he first saw me, the way he, spoke to me very, rude and demeaning. I didn't
hear anything rude and demeaning. He asked you for your license. He asked you for your proof of insurance, both of which you gave him to him. You questioned the fact, Ms. Manos, that he did in fact clock you going 50 in a 35-mile zone. His response to you was, I have it on radar.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You said, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I have it on radar.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went in the back, he wrote you a ticket. He came up, this is according to you. He came up to you, signed the ticket, and he left.
Mm-hmm.
He's not there to give you a recipe, madam. He's there to give you a speeding ticket.
No, I realize
What did you
that.
expect him to do?
Well, the thing of it is my understanding of, with the radar, I mean, this is just my understanding, saying that you only can get it like from the front or from the rear of a vehicle, not like a 90-degree angle. I was, from where he was and to where I was.
That's something that you take up at a trial.
I know. But
So you were arguing with this officer?
No, I wasn't arguing with him. I just, I said I didn't think I was speeding because I was in the full
So you
lane.
said you didn't think you were speeding. He said you were. If it's your understanding that there is some problem with radar, then that's something you take up at a trial. You have a relative who's in the police department?
Past relative, retired.
A retired relative. Who?
My husband.
And what was he?
Deputy sheriff.
Okay, so you had some information about that. So far I don't hear any basis for your writing a letter of complaint against him.
I didn't write a letter of complaint. I called Internal Affairs. Because in fact, when he spoke with me, he spoke in like a demeaning manner. I mean, he very abrupt, and I mean, he could see that I was nervous and upset, and I mean, it just, it just.
I didn't hear anything demeaning. You mean the words that he said? He said,
I mean,
instead of saying, "May I
tone.
please have your license?"
No.
He said, "Give me your license."
Well, just his tone and his,
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This officer was nothing but courteous, was most respectful to you. How dare you place a call to Internal Affairs to try to make trouble for his career? How dare you do that?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Police officer Brett Robinson says he was not rude. He has a tape to prove it. He wants $5,000 from Beverly Manos for filing a false complaint against him.
You have something you want me to hear?
Yes, Your Honor. I have a tape recording of the actual conversation that took place between the defendant and myself. She's pretty close to what was said.
Good. So
and I have a transcript for you and for the defendant if you
I
wish
don't need
to.
a transcript. What
Okay.
she's complaining about, certainly there is absolutely nothing in what you said to her that is untoward. As a matter of fact, what you said to her was absolutely professional. What she is now complaining about is your tone.
Okay.
So if you have a recording, I'm going to listen to your tone.
Okay.
Go.
Your Honor.
I'm fine. 50 miles an hour on the radar. Well, what I did was I was trying to pass out of the car because I had come off and when I had that. I know. Well. About a driver's license. Okay. They had the the other intersection down there. The Cedar, they had the what is called lane blocked, and I had to get over to the turn, because that's the only way I could get back over to go. Okay, once go ahead and find the registration and the insurance, please. I'll be right back with you. Sir? I'll be right back with you, ma'am. You have the paperwork there? Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm just so nervous. That's okay. Ma'am, they give you till the 27th of March to take care of the citation. Signatures here at the bottom, please. You have any idea how much? No, I sure don't. I wasn't doing anything. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm just so nervous. It's okay, I understand. I do need your signature here at the bottom, please. I've never had this signature in my life. Does this mean I have to go to court? There's no way. All the information's on the copy that you're going to get. Oh, there's no way I can go to court. I can't afford to take off from work without pay. JJ's going to be very happy with me, JJ Leonard. Do you know JJ Leonard? Yeah. Information is on the back of the ticket. He's in the resolution with my husband, with Pete, and he's going to be very unhappy with me. Okay. Drive safely. Bye-bye. It's February the 10th, 1998, 8:45 a.m.
Your Honor, don't they have to ask your permission or tell you that they are taping conversation?
I don't answer your questions, madam. You answer my questions. I've just listened to this tape. This officer was nothing but courteous, tried to be kind to you, was most respectful to you. How dare you place a call to Internal Affairs to try to make trouble for his career? How dare you do that? That's outrageous. That's outrageous. You know what happens? You know, everybody in this country sees glaring newspaper articles about abuses by police officers. And the things that you do demean demean, sometimes legitimate complaints about cops that are bad. This officer knows that there are some cops that would be rude, that are not nice. You happen to pick on one that couldn't have been nicer, couldn't have been more pleasant. He's at the beginning of his career. How dare you call Internal Affairs to register a complaint against him? And not only that, not only did you lie about the fact, Ms. Manos, that he was rude, abrupt with you.
I thought he was.
You were upset. You were upset. That has nothing to do with him. You were speeding. But in order to make it even worse for this officer, you accused him of bias. You said that he only stops women. And now you're trying to tell me that you watched him, and the only people that he stopped in the days that you watched him were women.
Well, like the days before, one of the ladies in my same building had stopped. And then also...
Just a second. So the day before, another woman was stopped by this officer. And based on that, you concluded that he only stops women.
Well, on all the days that I saw him at the same location, for almost about 4 days, and all I ever saw him pulled over was women.
Oh, please.
No, really.
Please.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Banos, I want to tell you something. If you don't tell the truth once, judges don't believe anything that you say.
Well, I am telling the truth.
Oh, no, you didn't. You didn't tell the truth about your major complaint because you said your major complaint was that he was rude to you.
I thought he was rude.
No. You felt he was rude? Your first question to me after you heard this tape was, doesn't he have to ask my permission to tape record what I say? That has nothing to do with the truth of the tape.
No,
that has to do with the fact that you were upset that he had the tape to begin with.
No, I
now,
didn't even know they had
Officer Robinson,
yes, ma'am.
Let's get to your damages, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't even look to see who an officer is stopping. As long as he's not stopping my car, I'm happy. And you're telling me you're on your way to work, and you not only stop to see the car, you stop to see whether the person he's giving the citation to is a male or a female? Baloney!
No, I don't stop.
Baloney!
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Police officer Brett Robinson wants $5,000 from Beverly Manos for filing a false complaint against him after he stopped her for speeding. Beverly says she's never had a speeding ticket in 46 years.
People have to be discouraged from filing false complaints against police officers. And I'm going to compensate you.
Thank you.
I want you to tell me what you feel as if it's worth and where you would like the money to go.
Well, I feel it's worth the full amount of the suit that I filed for, which was for $5,000, based upon a couple of reasons. Number one, as you already stated, I only have 14 years on the police department. I probably have another 16 more to do, and the promotability. This type of complaint goes into your personnel package, whether it's unfounded or no misconduct is as a result of the end of the investigation. It hurts an officer's career.
How long did this investigation go on, sir?
The ticket was written on February the 10th. She made the complaint on February the 13th. I was notified by my sergeant that the complaint was probably towards the end of February, beginning of March. I don't know the exact day. From that point on, I began to obtain assistance from another police officer as well as a private investigator, Officer Clark Baker here, who is my witness and helped me to establish a case against Ms. Manos.
When was the investigation with regard to her complaint finally terminated with regard to you?
June the 1st, I was called into the captain's office, and I have paperwork here to show it was originally found unfounded. They sent it to the chief of police office. They asked for it to be withdrawn by the chief of police. The chief of police refused to withdraw the complaint, instead changed the unfounded complaint to no misconduct. This is the complaint.
I'd like to see the complaint, too, while you're looking for the other documents.
You sure you have it? Oh, here it is, right here.
You might be interested to know, Ms. Manos, that they conducted their own internal audit based upon your complaint of the citations that this officer gave. On February 10th, the day that you were cited, Officer Robinson issued 13 citations. 9 of those were issued to males, 69%. For the period from January 30th to February 20th, which is a larger period of time, a total of 120 citations were issued by Officer Robinson. Of those 120 citations, 55% were issued to males, 66 to males, 54 to women. That belies. That was based on their own internal audit. That belies what you said.
Your Honor, I was just going by where on that space of the span of the street where, you know, I go to work.
I don't believe you. You were angry.
No. I
Oh,
wasn't
sure
angry.
you were. I don't believe you. I don't believe
was
that anybody...
upset.
Listen, I drive the same route all the time. To go to work, to go to visit my children, whatever. I don't even look to see who an officer is stopping. As long as he's not stopping my car, I'm happy. And you're telling me you're on your way to work, and you not only stop to see the car, you stop to see whether the person he's giving the citation to is a male or a female? Baloney!
No, I don't stop.
Baloney!
This is
I'm kidding, baloney.
You stop. You can see, Your Honor. You can see, Your Honor, when you're passing, you know.
No, not if you're supposed to be watching in front of you, madam. If you're supposed to be watching in front of you, you're not looking to see another car off the side of the road, and especially whether the occupant of the car is a male or a female.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
I want to tell you something. I don't even like this form by the police department. This form says the above complaint has been investigated, and a review of the investigation has led to the recommended classification of, and there are only 2 ways to answer. Other than sustained, which is what is checked off here, or sustained, and what the penalty is. There is no place here that says no basis. That's unfair. That seems to me to be something that should be addressed. Now, you want to tell me, sir, do you want this entire award to you, or is there any particular way you want to divvy it up?
The court fees, Your Honor, I would like to go to the Mid-Valley Community Police Council.
How much?
How much are the court fees?
$300.
And what kind of an organization is this?
This is a community organization that supports programs that the police department gets involved in. It benefits both the community and the police department.
Like what? Give me an example. First, tell me your name.
Training to police officers, training to supervisors. They're also affiliated with organizations such as Jeopardy, which is a gang intervention program that assists children.
Okay. Next. The remainder of the award you want to you personally?
Please.
Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff. The entire award is $5,000 with $300 of the award towards Mid-Valley Community Council. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Well, I was a little unhappy, but, you know, some of the officers should, you know, be a little more discreet with their giving out their tickets, that's all.
You can't make a complaint against a police officer without basis or without merit, without expecting some type of accountability for the complaint that you're making.
Veronica Taylor is suing the owner of Crossroads Engineering Company, John Samarin, for having her falsely arrested for robbery and terrorist threats. John is countersuing for harassment.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 131 on the calendar in the matter of Taylor versus Samarin. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Taylor, You are suing the defendant for really falsely accusing you of a crime.
Yes, ma'am.
And for whatever damages that you incurred, doctor bills, time that you spent in jail as a result of his complaint.
Yes.
Both he and his employee, you are the employee?
That's correct.
The countersuit, because they say that since this incident that brought the two of you together, you've been harassing them. Now, I read both the complaint and the answer, so let me at least try to put this in context. You had a boyfriend.
Yes.
Is this the boyfriend?
Yes.
And your boyfriend had been employed by the defendant.
Yes.
For how long, sir?
3 days.
And you terminated his employment.
Yes.
And your boyfriend asked you to accompany him to get his paycheck.
Yes, ma'am.
And you drove, or did he?
I drove.
Did he tell you that he had been fired?
No, never. Not one time he said he's been fired.
What time of the day was this?
It was around 4 o'clock.
What was his work schedule?
7 to 4.
7 to 4, 5 days a week?
Correct.
So this was about 4 o'clock, according to you, correct?
Yes.
And he had been with you that afternoon?
All day.
Well, then he wasn't working that day.
No, he wasn't.
So didn't you ask him why he wasn't working that day?
No, because at that day he went to the DMV because he had to get some papers from DMV, and that's why he wasn't working that day.
Well, he's saying no, but maybe he doesn't remember. In any event, he wasn't working on a day that he was supposed to have been working.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened?
Then he opened the door and waved his hand like, come in. So I went in, and him and his boss was arguing. And I figured that they was arguing about the paycheck. So when I walked in, he asked me, he said, well, what would you do?
Who's he?
This man right here. He said, what would you do? And I said, I'm puzzled. I didn't know what was going on, And David asked me not to say nothing, so I didn't say anything. So they was arguing, and then I said, well, to solve the matter, why don't you just write him his paycheck, and then we'll go, and that'll solve the problem. So then after that, his secretary went back. I went with her in the back. And she said, I'm so nervous. And I said, I'm so nervous too.
What did you go with her in the back for?
When she went to write David's check.
What'd you go with her for?
Because she wanted me to walk back there with her. And that's
Is that
why
what she said to you? Will
yes,
you walk back there with me?
She said, I said, I'll go with you. She said, sure, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked back there with her, and she said, I'm really nervous. And I said, I am too, because she said, I've never been in this position before. And I said, well, I've never been in this position before either. So I pat her on her back and said, it'll be okay, honey. And then she wrote me the check, and we started walking from the back. Well, in the meanwhile, by the time me and David was about to go out the door, I was trying to handle his paycheck, and all of a sudden, police was just everywhere. And all of a sudden, the police had him on the ground, okay? But in the meanwhile, I still had David's check in my hand. So I sit on the porch because I didn't know what was happening. I said, I can't believe this is not really happening. So the police went in the office to talk to him and his secretary. And so I sat on the porch for a while, maybe about 15 minutes. So the police came back out and said, do you have the check? And I said, yes, I do have the check. He said, well, we're arresting you because they said that you did terrorist threat to them, okay? Mm-hmm. I said, I never seen them before. I don't even know them. I don't know what's going on. This is David's check. This is not my check. And I said, I think it's unfair for you to put me in jail because what this man said, I ain't never seen him in my life.
Wasn't talking about prior relationship. I assume he was talking about what went on in that office today.
I'm talking about what went on in the office.
So you were arrested?
Yes.
Sir, you want to start from the time he walked into the door? Because I've read your answer.
Yes, I was in my back office, and...
what kind of business do you have?
I'm in a general engineering, asphalt and concrete improvements, public works.
And what kind of work was...
truck driver.
He was driving a truck for you?
Correct.
What happened?
He entered the office door somewhat belligerent, noisy, and my girl Angie called me up front, so I think we have a problem here.
So this was the first person he met?
Yes.
Just step up, please. What is your name?
Angie Abeta.
Miss Abeta, would you tell me what happened when he first came into the office?
Okay, I sit at the front office, and my boss's office is in the back. He just burst in,
and you could tell he was, not sober, I don't know. But anyway, he burst in and yelled, "I want my money." And that startled me right away because I have never seen the man. I usually don't see the employees. And that's when I called John over. And
did you say anything to him when he said, "I want my money"?
No, I called John
so
right
you
away.
Called your boss?
Yes.
And then you came out?
Yes.
And what happened when you came out?
I was quite concerned. His eyes didn't appear properly focused. He had alcohol in his breath, and he was demanding his paycheck. And we didn't even have a week's worth of wages yet, and Angie didn't prepare a check, and I was really concerned more about my automobile, and then I was going to find out about this check.
Why were you concerned about your automobile?
Several days before, I let him take my car home, and he blew the engine.
Why did you let him take your car home?
He was demanding to go home and be let off the clock. There was no work for him. Rather than going with the crew, I allowed him to take my car home.
What kind of car was it?
It's the BMW 635 M6.
How long had he worked for you before you gave him this car?
2 days.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Believe me, I wasn't drunk.
I didn't say you were drunk. I didn't say you were drunk. I said he was drunk, just like he is today.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Veronica Taylor says she was not involved with a robbery and terrorist threats the day she was arrested at John Samaran's company. She's suing him for false imprisonment. His witness, Angela Abeta, says Veronica frightened her.
Okay, so he comes into the office, he's demanding his paycheck. You want to find out what's happened with your car and whatever, and you hadn't prepared a paycheck for him. So what happened next?
Then he starts threatening me.
What did he say, sir?
I choose not to use the profane language.
I've heard everything.
Well, he says, "You dirty old son of a... I've done worse than this. Let me have my money. I'm going to get out of here." I proceeded over to an empty workstation where there was a phone, hoping I can just dial 911. He pushed me down and said, "Don't you dare use the phone." He kicks
when
the
you say he
desk.
pushed you down, did he put his hands on you?
Yes,
Where?
my shoulder.
Okay, go ahead.
And then proceeded to tell me not to use the phone. "I'm only here to get my money. I can knock your head off. I've done worse things than this." And it was just, I don't remember word for word, but the intent that my life was in jeopardy, and I was quite fearful of what may happen. And I just tried to stay calm. In the meantime, I knew that Angie was no longer in the room at this point. I was trusting that she was dialing 911.
Did you, in fact, dial 911 for the police?
Yes, when I heard him arguing and I went and sneaked and he pushed him into the chair, then I sneaked back to his office and I did dial 911. And I walked back up to the front office again, and he was still threatening him, yelling him. The second time I walked up, he hit him. He slapped him in the face. And then I ran back again to call 911 again. By that time, he walked out of the door.
Who did?
The intruder. He
This
walked out
gentleman.
of the door. I could see from the back office. In came him with the lady.
With this lady?
And, well, I stayed hidden in John's office again.
In the back?
In the back. Again, I picked up the phone to call 911 again. I called about 3 times. And at that point in time, I heard John pick up the phone at that desk station. And he slammed the phone down and yelled at him in bad words not to use the phone. He didn't realize that I was on the other phone. And then she starts walking back to the back office and found me there. And that's when she was on top of me.
What did she say when she came to the back office?
Well, she started yelling, he's out of control, and if you don't write the check, he's going to do something. And of course, I figured after he did something to him, he'd come back to me. So she kept on top of me. When I was sitting at the desk, she didn't realize I had just dialed 911. But I heard yelling where John was coming from, so I walked back up and I yelled at the intruder. I told him, "Wait, I'm going to get the checks out. I'm going to write you a check." So then she's following me around. We walk back, we unlock the checks, and I write the check. And all this takes, you know, a good 30, 45 minutes. And of course, I'm shaking, and she's standing there. She says, "We're not leaving until you write the check, and he's going to do something."
Did she say, "We're not leaving until you write out the check"?
And I wrote the check and gave it to her. And by that time, I thought the police hadn't come. But when they started to walk out, she had the check in her hand. And of course, by that time, I was a nervous wreck. And then we saw the police inside.
Now, Miss Taylor, can you tell me why, after you walked inside to the office and you saw that this was a very hostile situation, why you just didn't turn around and get back into your car and leave?
Because after I talked to David and him, okay, and when I said just write the check and this solved everything, I walked back with her. We wasn't even in there 20 minutes, so when she said 45 minutes, that was a lie.
I don't care if it's 5 minutes.
You know?
According to you, it was a routine thing that he was just going in to pick up his paycheck, right?
Yes.
When you were called inside by this gentleman, you saw him in a state of altercation with his boss over the paycheck, right?
Yes.
Why didn't you just turn around, get back into your car, and leave?
Because I thought the problem was solved. When I got in there, I thought the problem was solved, okay? But it wasn't solved because they were still arguing. Sure enough, I should have went back in my car, like you said, and went back in my car.
Absolutely right,
okay?
because you understand that as far as they was concerned, I'll get to you in a minute. As far as they were concerned, they had a hostile environment. And there were two of them. There was only one of him. But then he went out and called somebody else. Somebody else who didn't just come in and then walk out, but who went in the back office. And according to you, you say, why don't you just give him the check and then we'll just get out of here? Or let's just resolve this, give him the check. Well, they weren't ready to give him the check. They say that your words were somewhat different. That you better give him the check, or else I don't know what he's going to do. He's out of control. But they're faced with a very hostile environment. Had he been drinking?
Had he
been drinking?
Yes, he had one drink.
Of course.
Yes.
And was he drinking today?
Yes, he was drinking today.
Sure he was. Was he drinking before he came to court today?
Yes.
Sure he was. He was drinking before he came to court, and he was drinking all afternoon with you before you went to their office.
No, that's not true.
Oh, sure he was.
No, that's not true, ma'am. Because believe me, I wasn't drunk.
I didn't say you were drunk. I didn't say you were drunk. I said he was drunk, just like he is today.
I'm not, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How much did he drink today?
He had one drink today, Your Honor.
And what did he have to drink?
Brandy.
From where did he get the brandy?
From the liquor store.
You don't buy brandy by the glass in a liquor store.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Veronica Taylor wants John Samarin to pay for her false imprisonment on charges of robbery and terrorist threats.
Now, I'm going to ask you a couple of other questions. This is my next to the last case for the day, so you've had a good 4 or 5 hours. How much did he drink today?
He had one drink today, Your Honor.
What time?
Had to be 12:30.
And what did he have to drink?
Brandy.
From where did he get the brandy?
From the liquor store.
You don't buy brandy by the glass in a liquor store.
No, he bought a small shot bottle. Okay?
Right.
What does that have to do with this case, Your Honor?
Sir, I don't answer your questions. You answer my questions. Now, I trust that you didn't know that there was going to be a problem.
No, I didn't.
But once you got into that office, you recognized that there was a problem.
Yes, I did.
Then you should have gotten out. Because their perception of what was going on was they now had two people demanding money, threatened. He was pushed. He was slapped. Right? You didn't push him. You didn't slap him. But you also, in whatever language you used, whether it was, why don't you just give him the check and then we'll get out of here?
She never said that, Your Honor.
put him out.
Step this way, please.
Of the building. Miss Taylor, you ever been arrested before this incident?
No.
How many times has he been arrested?
I don't know, ma'am.
A lot more than the no times that you've been arrested, right?
Yes.
You got to pick your friends more carefully, madam. You got caught up in the situation, but they didn't have you arrested falsely. They had good and substantial reason to have caused you to be arrested along with him. That's not the way you handle a dispute. You don't go in, push your boss around, throw him around in a chair, and demand to be paid. You don't do that. If you think somebody owes you money, then what you do is you resort to the courts. What are you shaking your head no for? You think what I just said to you was wrong? From their perception, they had a hostile, aggressive person who had just assaulted him, who called in somebody else who was sitting out in a car, who comes in and says to them, why don't you just give him the paycheck and we'll get out of here? Now, that's as benign as you say you said it to them. But their perception is that these two people are together. So I'm dismissing your lawsuit. Now, let's get to the counterclaim. Since this incident, you say that she has harassed you.
Yes, ma'am.
How?
Several times she's called the office. She was advising me to tell John that she was suing us for false arrest and for medical bills, and tell him, pay my bills, and tell him I'm suing him because you stupid, I don't remember the other word, you had me arrested and I didn't do anything to you, and
Okay,
and
so
she
that's
called several times, saying the same thing.
Same thing. That she wanted money.
Yes.
When was the last time she called you?
Roughly 3 weeks ago.
Instead of calling them when they told you that they weren't going to pay you the money, why didn't you just sue them?
Your Honor, when I went to the courthouse, only time that I called this lady is when I went to the courthouse and they told me they had to know that I was doing this, and I had to call them. That was the only time I called them.
What did you say to them when you called?
I said, this is Veronica. She said, well, is this the Veronica that lives in our apartment building? I said, no, this is the Veronica that you threw in jail. And she said, well, you should be in jail. I said, well, why should I be in jail? I said, I'm just calling you, telling you what I'm about to do. She's the one that cussed me out, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Okay, Miss Taylor, let me tell you this. But for the fact that you filed this lawsuit, I doubt very much that they would have filed a counterclaim. So I'm telling you this. I'm dismissing your lawsuit because it's nonsense. I am also at this time, without prejudice to you, dismissing your counterclaim. But that is with the following warning, Miss Taylor. You are to have absolutely no further contact with these people. Do you understand?
Yes.
If you do, the dismissal of their countersuit is without prejudice. They're coming back to court. If you contact them at all or cause anyone else to contact them, they have the right to come back because I will consider that harassment. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
All of it was a lie, okay? What they said was a lie. It wasn't true at all. Never been in jail in my life, and it was wrong.
The whole situation was horrendous, and her saying that it's a lie, you know, we lived through it.
After all, that was a violent 20 minutes or so with this couple.